I see dead people.
Hot shit.
Here's Johnny.
Stop.
We have such sights to show you.
Bring the motherfucking ruckus. Fuck you too.
Monkey mode.
Monkey mode.
God damn it. Only a little bit late.
I mean,
That's okay. It's not like I gave you instructions. I literally just.
I thought we were like, all right, and now start
Monkey
going.
mode.
I didn't know you were gonna monkey mode it, but monkey mode. All right, I got it out. I think I think I got them all out.
That's how we were gonna start. And I don't know if this story is gonna go monkey mode at all. Probably not, honestly.
I hope so.
Out of all the places it can go, this isn't the one that I think is gonna
camp.
go.
That's the best place to go monkey
Hashtag
mode.
Monkey mode.
The goose is loose.
Yeah, the goose could be loose. That certainly can happen.
The goose is loose.
God damn it. Yeah, this could be interesting, right?
Of course.
When we read Dummy, I gotta be
Night of the Living
honest.
Puppet Dummy or whatever.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. Rose-tinted shades with that one, my man. like I don't know what happened, but as a kid I thought that story was like both the best and the worst and like the scariest. And I'm starting to now realize it was really just the TV show that creeped me out.
Oh yeah, reading it, it's just kind of like, it's just silly. But
Reading is just silly.
But then when you see like the transition of the small person playing the actor, like the character
puppet.
to the puppet, it's this kind of creepy. It's just
So
too creepy.
So I now have this like predisposition where I'm like, is this gonna be silly? Or is this actually gonna be a good story? I feel like Goosebumps are known for being silly, right?
Yeah.
There's an element of childishness, childishness.
Churlish.
Yeah, to each of a Goosebumps story, because that was the target audience. So it's not like I'm getting into this being like, oh, it's not Stephen King quality, you know, like that's
the covers do all the heavy lifting of the scariness. Honestly,
that's the funny thing is some of them in my lineup I went for the new artwork just so that you could see what they like are published now, which is such a shame because the old school like 90s artwork is
amazing,
so much more terrifying.
It's gorgeous, and the colors are amazing.
Yeah. We're reading Goosebumps. We picked a Goosebump.
I got Goosebumps.
Yeah, we got Goosebumps. Oh. We also got Monkey Mode.
Monkey Mode!
Oh yeah, sorry. Watch what? You can move him to the ground if you want.
Starkiller. That'll be fun. Well, now that I know he's there.
Just watch your head.
Now that I know he's there.
Because I'm also right here. You gotta watch out.
So what are we reading today?
Yeah,
What did I pick?
So I think I picked, when we were putting together the list for Goosebumps, I didn't like cherry pick. I obviously didn't look at the list and say, these are the ones I remember, these are the ones I want to read. Because I feel like the ones I remember and the ones I want to read aren't in our fucking list. So what I did was, I think I picked the 10 most popular.
Oh, okay. That's good then.
And yeah, I felt like it would give us, from the first perspective, it'll give me a sense of, like, spectrum, I suppose, because my own understanding of Goosebumps as a kid was that they weren't, when I was a kid, they were so much scarier than I, like, obviously now think they are. So, the ones I read as a kid were not the like mainstream ones. They were the ones that were just like
sidebars
available at the library. Yeah, I got stuck with like the same ones a lot of the times, and I just kept reading them because I could.
Well, do you think? Well, you're more familiar with them than I am, but do you think the more popular ones are like the more like kid-friendly ones?
No. No, I feel like it applies to the same logic as a kid as like scary stories to tell in the dark, like Alvin Schwartz.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was this like unspoken street level authority that if you rented that book, it's purely for Stephen Gamel's artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you could read the stories and they'll be okay. Whereas I feel like, almost on the same vein, a Goosebumps kid picks out the Goosebumps book based on the cool
I would say,
outside artwork.
it's just us. Like, what, all the times when we were kids, probably, like, well, I know I was kids, or like renting movies or video games,
Just
you
based
just
off the
looked
cover.
off the cover and like, oh, this looks amazing. Or like, hell, when I turned 21 and I was like, I gotta try different beers. All these covers and artwork look so good.
Mm-hmm.
You never go off that, man. You're always wrong.
Yeah, so there's an element of that still here though, because like
I did pick a story off the cover.
We picked one based off the cover, but we also like we weighed it against some of the other ones. Cause,
yeah,
like,
that's true.
Because like if there's like a consensus out there that all of these are like worth reading,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to hold them all to the same standard. This one is 88 pages long compared to something that's 20 to 30 pages longer.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently this one still sells it in as minimum page count as it has. So, you know,
be long to be spooky.
and I didn't think. I feel like with Slappy, with the Night of Living Dummy, I feel like there's just a lot of hijinks going on there because it's like prank based.
I got powers.
Yeah, I got powers.
It was a lot of. It was more like. Until the end, it was more just kind of like prankies.
Yeah.
And like silly
well,
things.
it began with pranks.
Yeah,
like
and then the
siblings.
the ectoplasm vomit, and then it just kind of went on to like.
Yeah.
Calling them slaves.
Slaves.
Slave. Come here, slave.
And I think when you remove the humor, you're left with like just a dull creep. So like I'm interested to see what. I don't think this one is going to be funny. Is what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be like the usual.
There's
quips and jibes of a typical story. But
there's like the Biomutant and like Say Cheese and Die and Calling All Creeps, and then there's like Night of the Yeti, the fucking Goo,
the Goo, cool.
The Basement,
Dad's Basement.
Yeah, Dad's Basement. Like that one's not like funny. That one's like actually pretty creepy. And then you got the funny one. So it's always interesting to see where the needle's gonna fall. And on the last one, it was definitely on the silly side for me. Yeah, I let Mr. Skellybones pick, and it's funny. He picked like a skeleton in a lake.
Look badass.
Not surprised.
It's like a almost skeleton. It's like you just pull a corpse out of like a coffin, because it's got like eyeballs. It's got my eyes.
Oh my god!
It does have my eye,
Captain.
Captain.
It's like your family. It's like
she's beautiful.
She's beautiful.
Last one in is a rotten ghost.
Remember when I said this wasn't gonna be silly?
I mean, if we're reading it, it's gonna be.
Can't
silly.
Can't promise anything.
I would love that as a poster, honestly.
There was a point in time where I wanted to make like digital art like this for like all of our characters. Just make them like shitty Goosebumps posters.
Mm-hmm.
But like the people who buy our merch are like people I know. And it's like there's a very small fraction of people who've bought merch that I haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
And like it'd be a lot of work to make a lot of like nice posters for people who aren't gonna see them, essentially.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, if I were to do you now you gotta be some dude in the lake. Just come walking on out. Last one's a rotten boner. Which one did you pick?
The Curse of Camp Cold Lake.
Yeah.
So like typical.
I don't remember reading this one.
In the camp and the lake story.
I read Fever Swamp as a kid. That one's cool.
I got the fever.
That one's actually pretty creepy. The twist in the show is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember Camp Cold Lake. This one's probably no doubt most popular just because of how cool the cover is.
I mean, it drew me to it.
It's menacing for sure.
And like just like the accents on the pool, the rippling of the water, and the coloration, like the oranges and the blues. And then you have like the red eyes that stick out in contrast to everything else that just kind of like draws you in. And you're like, well, what's this all about? And it's got a purple, goo on the outside cover.
Yeah,
like that's I
we
love the
all
purple.
love purple.
I love purple. Scholastic. Did the Scholastic like book fair have these as a kid? I know when it came to book fairs, my parents never let me buy much because I didn't read too much as a kid. It was just like, yo, this book comes with a keychain, and I want the keychain, but I can't tell my parents I want the keychain. So like, you gonna read this book? Yeah, I want to read this book, and I wouldn't read the book.
You just want the keychain.
I got a really cool like little crawling hand keychain from like one horror book. And I was just that kind of a person. Reading was for chumps, except I read now a lot.
I would never remember when the book fair was coming, and I wouldn't pay attention, and I would have to do I would have to beg my parents on like open house night to like walk through it. Because I was like a little klepto when I was younger, so I would like steal from the book fair all the time. Cause they're not like
grabbing erasers.
No, like I legit took full books. I remember there was one year where I was like, because the year before, I have like 3 volumes of Calvin and Hobbes, and I know for a fact I only paid for one of them.
Those are like big books too. Well, I meant like
they're the volumes. Yeah, no, they're
wide.
Yes, they're square.
Yeah, not even like thick.
Yeah, no, not thick. They're like
Sir, what's
actually
that? That's
sized.
my back brace. Stop questioning me.
No, quite literally, I realized that, if you just like held on to it long enough and like went through line with someone, then the implication was that you paid for it. And I just remember, like, right when you'd get to the register, I'd just, like, stand behind whoever was there. And then when they were done, I would walk with them. And people would just somehow not notice.
Like, okay, yeah, and
I used to steal a lot of stuff from, like, mini marts like that. I would wait for someone to, like, distract the cash register. And then I would, like, find a way to just like bail.
Grab some candy and get out.
Yeah, that's basically what I did. Or I would pay for like 1 candy and walk out with like 5.
Who's gonna know?
Yeah.
They're in my mouth. Do you want them back?
I tested a lot of boundaries as a kid. I used to steal a lot of like stuffed animals from like department stores and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, just pop the tag off real quick.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't be
as a kid, I would just pop the tag off and just bail, and then they started putting those pins on everything. The
ones you have to
take it
off
pins.
the dye packs.
Yeah.
Then they'll know.
There was a good amount of time where I stole a ton of shit from fucking Toys R Us. Yeah, I would hold on to like something long enough, and as I'm holding on to it, I'm like breaking the plastic, and I'm like grabbing whatever's inside. I'm like putting it like in my coat, and then I'm like casually putting it back on a shelf like upside down, and then just like walking away. Like, you know how they used to put like specific like Hot Wheels in like a little plastic shield like in a Hot Wheels set?
Yeah.
You could easily just break that little shield part and take the Hot Wheel. You know, like
those Hot Wheels were really hot,
I guess.
And
you know, like old like Star Wars like Kenner style figures. The plastic like corner is always just easy to just like crack and get a finger up in there and just pull that figure right on down. So it's just like, I don't know. Like as a kid, I had problems stealing shit, and it wasn't until no, you know what? It continued when I was in high school. It just changed. I used to like steal from work like literally all the time. because I worked at the movie theater all the time, and I
Yeah.
would literally get like all of my friends in for free and just give them
Oh, yeah, I
popcorn
remember
and
that,
like
yeah.
walk around with like candy in my pocket all day. Like that shit was just hilarious because I would just look at whoever's doing inventory and I'd be like, yeah, we're like missing one of those, and they'd be like, okay, and then I'd wait for them to leave and then I would just put it in my pocket. And like they yelled at me about giving tickets to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stopped writing it down. And I just kept giving tickets to everyone. And then inventory I would mark sideways. Because I would just be like, I would go to see a movie and I'd ask whoever was supervisor on that shift. And I would just say, hey, can I get a Skittles? And they'd be like, yeah. And then they would remember to mark inventory that week, like, down a Skittles. And I would sometimes, like, text them to remind them. I'm like, I took a Skittles. Like, I didn't even ask this time. Like, I'm taking a Skittles. And, like, popcorn was always free.
Yeah.
And as long as you brought a cup, you could literally just hand it to the person. They'd fill it with whatever soda you want. They're not taking inventory of fucking popcorn and soda. They're not.
Yeah.
Which is why I used to take home fucking bags of that shit. And only now are they doing take home bags. So like AMC, you could have learned from me. Like you really could have. I've been taking home bags of that shit. I would specifically make my own batch, like half batch, double oil, double salt, just to take home. Because that shit rocked. It's like so bad for you. I took like 10 years off my life.
It was like your dinner half the time. Like I'm eating that like the whole day because it's like my food.
We'd get home to hang out and everyone would be like, bust out the popcorn. I'd be like, yo, you're not worth the popcorn.
You
It's
can't
like,
have this.
This needs to last me all
This
weekend.
is my sustenance.
This is gonna last me all. And now I'm like burnt out on popcorn. There are times I go to the movie theaters now and I taste like the artificial butter and I'm like,
Throw it in my mouth a little bit.
I'm like, no, dude, I get pop. I walk in. I'm chemically trained. It's the fucking worst thing to admit because I am the audience. I am chemically trained. I'm chemically neutered. I walk into that place and I smell popcorn and I go, I want some popcorn. You know what? I walk into a movie theater and I go, monkey mode.
Monkey mode. And we're back.
I literally like. It's even shitty at Disney. Like I'll walk out of a ride at Disney, and you will see me just going. She'll be like, "What?" And I'll be like, "Do you smell that popcorn? Do you smell?
That smells.
That smelly smell. That smells smelly.
Popcorn. What is that? Popcorn.
And she's the worst because she agrees with me. She's like, "Yeah, get some. I'll eat literally a half a bag." And that's the funny part is that I will fucking destroy popcorn.
You're incorrigible.
I've been raised to raise maize.
Raise the raised maize.
Raised to raise maize. I turn that shit into corn and I eat it. And that's just how it is. Oh, Curse of Camp Cold Lake.
The curse of Camp Cold
Curse
Lake.
of Camp Cold Lake.
That's what it is, Rotten Goose.
Curse of Camp Cold Popcorn. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, popcorn's still good cold.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's the universal thing.
It was my way.
Movie theater popcorn definitely tastes different cold compared to regular like warmth, but like popcorn's good no matter what.
It is interesting that like the minute you leave the theater, it doesn't taste as good.
You're just like,
it is
end of the night pun.
You know that they make it to have like a 3-hour window of crispness, because then like the next morning you're just like, it's soft.
Yeah, you can. You can also tell me like in that popcorn's just been sitting in there for a bit, and you're like,
it ain't got that crunch.
It's definitely warm.
It ain't got that.
That's
crunch.
all it is. They got the crunch.
I'm looking for that crunch.
Crispy crunch. Damn.
Curse of Camp Cold crunch.
The curse of crunchy Camp Cold.
Where the fuck am I right now?
Oh.
It's been a while since we recorded, man.
It's been a while.
I feel
it has
like
been a very long time.
I feel like I'm gonna push this out probably in the middle of the Let's Play, just so that there's something to sit on the podcast for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
because I'm taking my time. I'm putting out Last of Us, but I
ESL
don't.
2 came out.
But I don't
Second
want to
episode.
see. I don't want to see the podcast just kind of drop off of listings because I'm not putting anything out. So I'll probably put this out somewhere in the next couple weeks, so people will happily be listening to another Goosebumps episode with Mr. Skellybones.
Skellybones?
Skellybones.
Skellybones.
And
Bone.
we read Night of the Living Dummy for the first Goosebumps. You could go back and listen to that one. I don't remember the number. It was somewhere like 230 something. And now we're at 270 something. And we're reading The Curse of Camp Cold Lake. And we've already talked about the reason we picked it is because it has a cool cover. Because we're those kids.
I see those eyes. They don't lie.
You understand where I drew your character
What
from
does it
now.
feel like? Camp Cold Crystal
No,
Light.
I was going to say you can't say that. Technically, it's an IP that we don't own.
I said Crystal Light.
Oh, okay, Crystal Light.
Crystal Light.
So there are apparently 30 chapters.
No.
So,
I'm okay.
do you want to start?
I'm okay.
Or do you want me to start?
You can start. Set the
Alright,
mood.
I'll start.
Set the tone.
I got off to a bad start at Camp Cold Lake. That's
How?
it. That's the end.
I mean, that is
I
that
was
is a nightmare.
so nervous when I arrived, and I guess I did some dumb things. Well, I didn't want to go to a water sports camp. What even is that?
Gross.
Water sports camp.
Like waterboarding? No, waterboarding.
Waterboarding. Guantanamo Bay camp. No, water sports, does that mean like you're stuck playing like water
skis?
polo
Oh.
and like swimming?
I guess. Like, yeah. Water
I guess we'll
polo,
figure it
maybe bar skis.
I don't like the outdoors, neither do I. I hate the feeling of grass brushing against my ankles. So do I. I don't even like to touch trees. Me neither.
Goddamn neats.
I certainly don't like getting wet, and that's where you lose me. I love to swim. Sure, I like to go swimming once in a while, but not every day. What's the point of that? I like to swim in a nice, clean pool. I took one look at this lake here, and I was sick. I knew there had to be horrible things swimming around in that water, like skeletons.
Huh?
Ugly, ugly creatures waiting below the surface,
Hey.
thinking to themselves, Sarah Maz, we're waiting for you. Sarah, we're going to rub our slimy bodies on your legs when you swim,
Whoa.
and we're going to chew off your toes, one by one. I'm going to eat your toes. Yuck. Why do I have to swim in slime? Of course, Aaron was so excited, he nearly exploded.
Fucking Aaron.
When we climbed off the camp bus, he was jumping up and down and talking a mile a minute. He was so crazed, I thought he was going to burst out of his clothes and go running in a lake. My brother likes camp. He likes sports and outdoors. He likes just about everything and everyone. Regular golden retriever. And everyone always likes Aaron. He's so enthusiastic. He's so much fun. Hey, I like to have fun too. But how can you have fun when there's no malls, no movie theaters, no restaurants to get a slice of pizza or a bag of French fries?
You get it.
How can you have fun when you're neck in freezing cold lake every day? In a camp, miles from any town, surrounded on all sides by thick woods? This is gonna be awesome, Aaron declared, dragging his duffel bag. He hurried off.
God, how old is Aaron?
Yeah, awesome, I muttered glumly. The bright sun was already making me sweat. Do I like to sweat? Of course not. So, why did I come to Camp Cold Lake? I can answer that in 3 words. Mom and Dad. I'll tell you this 2 and you're just... They said that a water sports camp would give me confidence.
Of course.
They said it would help me, make me more comfortable with the outdoors.
Wow.
And they said it would give me a chance to make new friends.
On
And
the
okay,
lake.
I admit it. I don't make friends very easily. I'm not like Aaron. I can't just walk up to someone, start talking and kidding around. I'm a little shy. Maybe it's because I'm so much taller than everyone else. I'm a freak. I'm a whole head taller than Aaron, and he's only a year younger than I am. He's 11.
Jesus.
I am tall and very skinny. Sometimes Dad calls me Grasshopper, but it's because he's Asian. Guess how much I like that? About as much as I like swimming in a cold lake filled with hidden creatures. Be a good sport about it, Sarah, Mom said. I rolled my eyes. Give a camp a chance, Dad asked. You might surprise yourself and had a good time.
He's not Asian.
Grasshopper.
I mean, maybe.
I rolled my eyes again. When you come home at the end of summer, you'll probably beg us to take you camping, Dad joked. I wanted to roll my eyes again, but they were getting tired from all the rolling. I gave my parents a glum sigh, quick hugs, then I followed Aaron onto the camp bus. He grinned the whole way to camp. Fag. He was really excited about learning how to He was really excited about learning how to water ski. He kept asking everyone if the camp had a high diving board over the lake. Aaron made 3 or 4 friends on the bus ride to camp. I stared out the window, watching the endless blur of trees and farms, thinking about my lucky friends who got to stay home and hang out at the mall. Oh, you want to go crash the mall?
Yeah, let's go to the mall.
Here we are at Camp Cold Lake. Kids pulling their bags off a bus, laughing and joking. Counselors in dark green t-shirts greeting everyone, pointing them in the right direction. I began to cheer up a little bit. Maybe I will make some new friends, I thought. Maybe I'll meet some kids who are a lot like me, and we'll have a great summer. But then I stepped into my cabin, I saw 3 of my bunkmates, and I looked around and I let out a cry. Oh no, no way!
Oh, no.
No,
No.
what?
No. Oh.
Chapter 2.
I guess I shouldn't have freaked like that. It made a very bad first impression. But what was I supposed to do? There were 2 bunk beds in the cabin. The 3 other girls had already chosen their beds. There was only 1 bed left, right in front of the window. And the window had no screens, which meant my bed would be crawling with bugs. I took 1 glance, and I knew I'd be swatting mosquitoes every night for the whole summer. Besides, I can't sleep in a top bunk. I toss and turn a lot at night. If I slept on top, I'd fall on my head. I had to sleep on the bottom, in the bed against the far wall, away from the open window. I can't do this, I blurted out. Fuck this shit. My 3 bunkies turned and looked at me. One had blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. Near her was a short, chubby white girl with long brown hair. In the bottom bunk against the wall, an African-American girl with long cornrows stared across the cabin at me.
Can't say anything about that one. She's a nice girl.
Perfect angel. I guess they wanted to say hi and introduce themselves, but I didn't give them the chance. Someone has to trade beds with me, I cried. I didn't mean to sound so shrill, but I was really upset. Before they could answer, the cabin door swung open. A sandy-haired young girl in a dark green camp t-shirt poked his head in. Guy, not girl.
Monk came out!
I'm Richard! Monk came out! He said. I'm the boss guy, the head dude. Everything okay in here? No! I cried. I couldn't stop myself. I was so nervous and unhappy. I can't sleep in this bunk, I told him. I don't want to be near the window, and I need to sleep in the bottom. I could see that the other girls were shocked by my outburst. Richard turned to the girl who was sitting on the bottom bunk against the wall. Brianna, would you trade beds with Sarah? I told him. Would you trade bunks with Sarah? Richard asked Brianna. She shook her head so hard the beads in her cornrows rattled against each other. I don't want terror, she said softly. She pointed to the chubby girl with the long brown hair who sat on a camp trunk. Meg and I are bunkmates last year, Brianna told Richard, and we're kind of wanted to be together. Meg nodded. She had a round baby face, and she wore blue and red bracelets on her teeth. I can't sleep in front of the window, I insisted. I really can't. I hate bugs. Richard stared at Brianna. How about it? Brianna groaned. Ugh, all right. She made a face at me. Thanks, Richard said. I could see as he was studying me.
He was studying me?
Probably thinks I'm a real troublemaker, he thought. Brianna climbed
real
off the bottom bunk.
Shit.
She dragged her duffel bag across the room, by the she dragged her duffel bag across the room to the bunk by the window. "It's all yours," she muttered. She didn't say it in a friendly way. I felt bad. My bunkmates already hate me, I thought. Why do I always do that? Why do I always get nervous and start off on the wrong foot with people? So I'm kind of a bitch. Now I've got to really try really hard to make them my friends, I decided. But a minute later, I did something horrible. Like, what the fuck? How much of a bitch? Like, I mean, I get it at a certain extent.
I mean, I get it to a certain extent.
But, like, I wouldn't immediately make myself an enemy of everyone in the bunk, in the camp.
Probably deal with it. I'd silently deal with it for a night, and then if it really sucked, I'd ask someone.
I'd be like,
personally.
"Can we put like a blanket or something here, please, or like stuff something here?"
Yeah, before even asking anyone to step in and do anything that changes what they're doing, I'd probably try to figure it out myself.
Yeah, I'd be like, "Is this the only one available? All right, can you guys help me maybe after I can't find anything?" Like,
"Hey, thanks for trading bunks, Brianna," I said. "That was really nice of you." She nodded but didn't say anything. Meg pulled open her trunk and started shoving shorts and t-shirts into her dresser drawer. The third girl smiled at me.
"Hi, I'm Janice,"
she said, and she had a raspy, hoarse voice.
"Everyone calls me Jan."
Jan had a nice smile. She had her blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail. She had dark blue eyes and red cheeks. Her pale skin seemed to be blushing all the time, and she had the voice of a 60-year-old smoker. "Were you here last summer?" I asked her. She shook her head.
"Nah, Brianna and Meg were here, but this is my first summer. I went to tennis camp last year."
Dude, let me tell you how much tennis camp fucking sucked as a kid. I gave up after like 3 days. I said, this is too much. Because it's like 90-degree weather and they have you running double fucking suicides on the tarmac out there.
I was never a sports man.
Nah, dude, that shit fucked me up.
I'm not gonna do the raspy voice anymore. I already feel myself killing it.
You could do just a dude voice. That's fine.
Okay,
That's
do a
fine.
dude voice.
Yeah, I mean, your regular voice would suffice.
Okay.
I've never been to any kind of camp, I confessed. I guess I'm a camp virgin. And I'm a little nervous.
That's still you, that's Brianna.
Okay, Brianna was the black chick.
Yes, the cornrows. African American.
"Are you a good swimmer?" Brianna asked, and I shrugged. I'm pretty good, I guess. I don't swim much. I don't really like it. Meg turned from her trunk. "You don't like to swim? And you came to a water sports camp?" Brianna and Jan laughed. I could feel my face grow hot. I didn't want to tell them that my parents made me come to camp. I used to say that shit. Why not own it? It's like, why are you here? You look miserable. Well, I mean, obviously my parents made me come. It just sounded too geeky. I didn't know what to say. I like other things," I stammered. "Oh, I love that swimsuit," Brianna declared, and she pulled a bright yellow swimsuit from Meg's trunk, held it up in front of her. "This is excellent." Meg tugged it back. "Like it would really fit you," she muttered, rolling her eyes. Her braces clicked when she talked. "Did you lose weight over the winter?" Brianna asked her. "You look great. Really, Meg." "I lost a little," Meg replied. She sighed. "But I didn't get any taller." "I grew about a foot this year," I chimed in. "I'm the tallest girl in school. Everyone stares at me when I walk through the halls." "Boo-hoo," Meg said sarcastically. "You really got it tough. Would you rather be a shrimp like me?" "Well, not really," I replied. Oops. I realized I said the wrong thing. I saw a flash of hurt in Meg's eyes. Why did I say that? I asked myself. Why do I keep putting my foot in my own mouth? I picked up my backpack from where I would toss it on the floor and I carried it to my bunk to unpack it.
Hey, that's mine. Put it down.
Jan came rushing over. I glanced down at the backpack. No, it's mine, I insisted. I started to unzip it, and it fell off the bed. A whole bunch of things fell out and clattered across the cabin floor. Oh, I cried out in surprise. The stuff wasn't mine.
Dumb bitch.
I saw pill bottles, medicine jars, little plastic inhalers.
Grabbing pills?
Asthma medicine, I cried. Jan dropped to her knees and began gathering it all up, and she glared up at me angrily.
Thanks, bunch, Sarah.
She growled.
Thanks for letting the world know I have asthma. Why don't you stand up at the campfire tonight and announce to the whole camp?
Sorry, I murmured weakly.
I told you it was my backpack.
Jan snapped. Meg bent down and picked up an inhaler for Jan. Having asthma is like nothing to be ashamed of, she told Jan.
Maybe I like to keep things to myself.
Jan snapped. She shoved all the medicine into the pocket and grabbed the backpack away. Sorry, I said again. Really? All three of the girls glared at me and Brianna shook her head. Meg tisk-tisked. They hate me already, I thought. I felt sick. Really sick. They hate me and it's only the first day, the first hour. With a sigh, I slumped down on my bunk. Can things get any worse? I wondered. Guess the answer to that. Oh.
Later that night, we had our first campfire. It was built in a wide, flat clearing near the woods. Smooth logs were placed in a circle to be used as benches. I dropped down on an empty log with my back to the trees. Flames from the big fire danced brightly against the gray evening sky. The fire crackled and popped. It smelled so sweet. I took a deep breath. Counselors tossed more sticks on the fire. Soon the flames rose up over their heads. The night air was hot and dry. My cheeks burned from the heat tossed up by the fire. I turned away and gazed into the woods. The dark trees shivered in a light breeze. In the gray light, I saw a squirrel dart between the tall weeds. I wondered what other animals lurked in the woods. I imagined there were bigger animals than squirrels in there. Bigger and more dangerous. I heard a pop from the fire, made me jump. It's creepy outside at night, I thought. Why can't they have the campfire indoors in a fireplace or something? Because that's a fireplace, not a campfire. No. I slapped the mosquito on my neck. And then I turned back to the fire. I saw Brianna and Meg on the other log bench. They were laughing about something, talking to two girls I didn't know. I saw Aaron on the other side of the flames. He was goofing with two other guys. They were wrestling around, trying to shove each other's face off the log. Oh, trying to shove each other off the log.
I still like the face part.
I sighed. Aaron has already made a bunch of friends, I thought. Everyone has made friends, but me. Aaron saw me staring at him. He waved quickly and then turned back to his friends. On the next log, three girls had their heads tossed back. They were loudly singing in the camp song. I listened carefully, trying to learn the words, but they had a giggling fit halfway through and didn't finish the song. Two older girls sat down on the other end of my log. They looked about 15 or 16. I turned to say hi to them, but they were busy talking. One of them had a bag of gummy worms in her hand. Fuck yeah, I love gummy worms. My favorite. She kept pulling them out of the bag one by one and slurping them slowly like spaghetti noodles. Oh my god, I think she was trying to tell you something, girl. Richard, the head counselor, stepped in front of the fire. He held a black baseball cap, turned backwards on his head. His baggy shorts were torn and dirty from working in the fire. He raised both his hands over his head. Are we all here? He called out. I could barely hear him. Everyone was still talking and laughing. Across the fire, I saw Aaron standing up, wiggling his whole body in a funny dance. His friends were laughing their heads off. One of them slapped Aaron a high five. Ha! Nice! Can we get started? Richard called out. Can we start our welcoming campfire? A log cracked in the fire. Red embers shot all around. Oh! I let out a cry as a hand grabbed my shoulder. Who? I spun around and stared up at Brianna and Meg. They leaned over me. In the darting firelight, I saw their frightened expressions. Sarah, run! Brianna whispered. Get up quick! Meg tugged my arm. Run! Why? What's wrong? I sputtered.
That just went from 0 to 60 in 3.5.
Right? Unless they're trying to prank her.
Yeah, maybe.
She'll be there.
I jumped shakily to my feet. What's wrong? Those boys, Meg whispered. She pointed across the fire. They threw fireworks in the fire. It's gonna explode. Run, both the girls cried. Meg gave me a shove to get me started, and I stumbled and then lurched forward. As I ran, I shut my eyes tight, expecting the blast any second. Can I get away in time? Were Meg and Brianna escaping too? I stopped short when I heard the laughter. Shrill, gleeful laughter. Huh? Swallowing hard, I turned back. I saw half the camp laughing at me.
Knew it.
Meg and Brianna slapped each other a high five. No, oh no, I murmured. How could I fall for such a dumb trick? How could they play such a mean joke on me? They must have told everyone to watch. As I stood at the edge of the clearing by myself, I could feel all the eyes on me, and I could hear kids laughing and making jokes. I saw Jan laughing. I saw Richard and some of the other counselors grinning and shaking their heads. I know. I should have laughed too. I should have made a joke about it. I should have said, I'm just such a dumb, such a fucking fuck.
Where's that in the story?
I shouldn't have
Did I
let
miss
it
it?
upset me. But the whole day had been so terrible. I was so nervous and so eager not to make any more mistakes. I could feel my shoulders start to shake up and down. I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. No, I ordered myself. You cannot cry. You cannot allow yourself to cry in front of the whole camp. Sure, you feel like a total jerk, Sarah. But so what? It was a joke. Just a dumb joke. And I felt a hand on my arm. I pulled away. Sarah. Aaron stood beside me. His dark eyes were wide in the shadowy evening light. I'm okay, I snapped. Go away. You're such a bad sport, he said softly. Why can't you ever let things slide off you? It was just a joke. Why go nuts over a dumb joke? Do you know what I really hate? I really hate it when Aaron is right. I mean, he's my younger brother, right? What right does he have to be sensible? To be a calm member of the Maz family? It really annoys me when Aaron comes off like my older brother. Do I need your advice? I snarled. Take a hike. Literally, we're at camp. There's several trails. Go. Take one. I gave him a shove towards the campfire, and he fell in and died.
Oh!
Really, he shrugged and hurried back to his friends. He wasn't dead. I crept to the campfire. I didn't go to my old seat. It was too close to the fire and too close to Brianna and Meg. I dropped down on the edge of a log near the woods outside the glow of the fire. The darkness cooled me and helped me calm down. Richard had been talking for a while, and I realized I hadn't heard a word he said. He stood in front of the crackling fire, and he had a deep, booming voice, but everyone leaned in to hear him better. I gazed around the circle of campers. Their faces glowed orange in the bright firelight. Their eyes sparkled. I wondered if anyone here would be my friend. I knew I was feeling really sorry for myself. I wondered if any other new campers felt the way I did. Richard's voice droned on in the back of my mind. He was saying something about the main lodge, something about a meal schedule, and then he began talking about towels. I started to pay attention when he introduced the head waterfront counselor. Her name was Liz. Everyone clapped when she stood up beside Richard, and one of the boys whistled loudly. She is awesome, another boy called out, and everyone laughed. Liz grinned too, and she waved for everyone to quiet down. Are you all having a good time? She called out, and everyone cheered and clapped. Well, tomorrow will be your first day at the waterfront, Liz announced. And before you go in the lake, there are lots of water rules we want you to know. Like, don't drink the water, Richard chimed in, unless you're very thirsty.
Stop, Richard.
And some of the kids laughed. But I didn't. I thought that drinking the water was disgusting, 'cause slimy water made me sick.
God,
Liz didn't laugh either. She frowned at Richard. She was like, we need to take this seriously, she scolded. I was serious, Richard joked, and Liz ignored him. When you get back to your bunks, you'll find a list of water rules on your bed, she continued, brushing back her long, frizzy red hair. There are 20 rules on the list, and you need to know them all. Huh? 20 rules, I thought? How could there be 20 rules? It'll take all summer to learn 20 rules. Liz held up a sheet of paper. I'm going to go over the list with you right now. If you have any questions, just call them out. Can we go swimming now? Another similarly sounding boy trying to be funny. And lots of the kids laughed, but Liz didn't crack a fucking smile. That's rule number 8. She replied, no night swimming, even if counselors are with you. Don't ever swim with counselors, Richard joked. They have germs. Richard is, he's pretty funny, I thought. He seems like a good guy. But Liz seemed so serious. The sheet of paper fluttered in the wind and she gripped it with both hands. Her red hair caught the glow of the fire. The most important rule at Camp Cold Lake is the buddy system. Buddy!
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 Monkey mode!
Liz announced, "When you are in the lake, you must always have a buddy." And she glanced at the campers seated around her. Even if you're only wading in up to your ankles, you have to have a swimming buddy with you. You may have a different buddy each time, or you may choose a buddy for the whole summer, but you must always have a buddy. She took a deep breath. "Are there any questions?" "Will you be my buddy?" a boy shouted. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. Kid's timing was perfect.
Killing it.
But once again, Liz did not crack a smile. "As waterfront counselor, I will act as everyone's buddy," she replied seriously. "Now, rule number 2, she continued. Never swim more than 3 boat lengths from one of our safety boats. Rule number 3, no shouting or pretending to be in trouble in the water. No horseplay, no kidding around. Rule number 4. She talked on and on, reading off all 20 rules. And I groaned. She talked to us like we're 5-year-olds, I thought. And there are so many rules. Let me repeat one more time about the buddy system, Liz was saying. Gazing past the fire, I could see the dark lake, smooth and black and silent. The lake had tiny waves, no current, no dangerous tides. So why are there so many rules, I wondered. What are they scared of?
Leeches.
Yeah, probably. I've had those before.
Liz talked for at least half an hour. Richard kept cracking jokes, trying to make her laugh, but she never even smiled. She talked some more about every rule on the list, and then she told us to read the list carefully when we got back to our cabins. "Have a great summer, everyone," she called out. "See you at the waterfront." Everyone cheered and whistled again at as Liz stepped away from the fire. I yawned and stretched my hands over my head. That was really boring, I thought. I've never heard of a place having so many rules. I swatted another mosquito on my neck, and I was starting to feel really itchy. That's what being outdoors does to me. It makes me itch like crazy. The fire had died down. A blanket of purple embers glowed on the dark ground. The night air grew cool. To end the campfire, Richard told everyone to stand and sing camp song. Sing the camp song. "You new campers probably don't know the words," he said. "You're lucky." Everyone laughed. Richard began to sing and everyone joined in. I tried to follow along, but I couldn't catch all the words. I picked up pieces of the song. "Wetter is better. Get in the swim. Show your vigor and vim. Every son and daughter should be in the water, the cold, cold water of Camp Cold Lake." Yuck. I agree with Richard about the words of the song. They were so lame. Gazing across the fire, I saw Aaron singing his heart out. He seemed to know every word already. How does he do it? I wondered, scratching my itchy legs. How does he manage to be so perfect, to fit in everywhere? As the song ended, Richard raised his hands for quiet. "I have a few final announcements," he called out. "First of all, none of you can carry a tune. Second..."
Fuck off, Richard.
"No, fuck you, kid." I didn't hear the rest. I turned to find Brianna and Meg standing beside me. I took a step back. "What do you want?" I snapped. "We want to apologize," said Brianna. Meg nodded. "Yeah, we're sorry we played that dumb joke on you." Richard's voice droned on behind us. Brianna put her hand on my shoulder. "We got off to a bad start," she said. "Let's start all over again. Okay, Sarah?" "Yeah, let's get fresh." "Oh, let's get... Yeah, let's
like
start
it.
fresh," Meg agreed. A smile spread across my face. "Great," I said. "Excellent." "Excellent," Brianna repeated, smiling too. She slapped me on the back. A fresh start. That's not a good sign. Richard was still making announcements. Tomorrow at 4:30, those interested in windsurfing. Aaron will probably try that, I thought. I watched Brianna and Meg walk away. A fresh start, I thought. I began to feel a lot happier. That happy feeling lasted for about 2 seconds. Then my back started to itch. I turned to the fire and saw Brianna and Meg staring back at me. They were both giggling. Other kids had turned Kids. Other kids had turned away from Richard and were watching me. Oh, I groaned and felt something warm wriggle against my back. Something warm and dry moving under my t-shirt. Oh, it moved again. I reached one hand back and poked it under my shirt. What is it? What did Brianna put back there? I grabbed the thing and pulled it out and started to scream.
I think it's a frog.
Yeah, power shock.
Is it a frog?
Oh my god!
The snake
Oh.
wriggled in my hand.
That's much worse!
It looked like a long black shoelace with eyes and a mouth that kept snapping open and shut. Let's see if that picks up. I let out a shrill... No! I totally lost it. I let out a shrill scream, and I heaved the snake with all my might, and it sailed back into the woods. My back still itched like crazy. I could still feel it wriggling against my skin. I reached back and tried to scratch with both hands. Kids were laughing, telling each other what Brianna had done. I didn't care. I just wanted to rub away the feeling of the snake against my skin. My whole body tingled. I uttered an angry cry. How could you? I shrieked at Brian and Meg. What is your problem? Aaron came hurrying over to be the grown-up again. Just what I needed. Mr. Mature, kid brother. Sarah, did it bite you? He asked softly. I shook my head. I can still feel it, I wailed. Did you see it? It was 3 feet long. Calm down, Aaron whispered. Everyone is staring at you. Think I don't know that? I snapped. Well, it's just a tiny snake, Aaron said. Totally harmless. Try to get yourself together. I sputtered. I was too upset. Too angry to talk. Aaron raised his eyes to Brianna and Meg. Why are those 2 girls picking on you? He asked. I don't know, I wailed. Because they're creeps. That's why. Well, try to calm down, Aaron repeated. Look at you, Sarah. You're shaking all over. You'd shake too if you had a disgusting snake crawling up and down your skin. And I really don't need your advice, Aaron. I really don't. Fine, he replied, and spun away and hurried back to his friends. I don't believe him, I muttered. Dad is a doctor, and Aaron is just like him. He thinks he has to take care of everyone in the world. Well, I can take care of myself. I don't need my little brother telling me to calm down every second.
Yeah.
Richard was still talking, but I didn't care. I stepped away from the campfire circle and started back to the cabin. The path curved through a patch of wood, up the sloping hill where the cabins were perched. Away from the glow of the fire, I was surrounded by darkness. I clicked on my flashlight and aimed the yellow circle of light at my feet. My sneakers crunched over dry leaves and twigs. The trees whispered above me. How did I get off to such a bad start? I asked myself. Why do Brianna and Meg hate me so much? Maybe they're just mean, I decided. Maybe they're total creeps. Maybe they're mean to everyone. They think they're so hot because they were at camp last year. Without realizing it, I had wandered off the path. Hey, I swung the flashlight around, searching for the way back. The light swept over tilting trees, tall clumps of weeds, a fallen log. Panic tightened in my throat. Where's the path? Where? I took a few steps, and my sneakers crunched over leaves, and then my foot sank into something soft. Quicksand!
What the fuck is your quicksand? Quicksand.
Here.
Right here, this lake.
R.L. Stein was like, you know what would scare kids right now that they do not expect? Fucking quicksand.
You know, this was rule number 16.
Terrifying.
Rule number 16 was watch out for pools of quicksand. And if she was listening to those rules,
dude,
quicksand.
As a kid, I had like a bunch of irrational fears. And
well, it's because you always saw quicksand.
One of them was quicksand because let me tell you,
in movies.
There was an old like kids movie about pirates and treasure and pizza sharks. Do you remember this one? You remember Pizza Shark? Anyway, there's a big kangaroo. He had like boxing abilities. He ran around with boxing gloves and beat the shit out of people. And there were pirates and shit. You don't
no,
remember,
but now I want to watch. Now I want to hear.
I'll find it. We can watch it.
I want to see this now. Pizza Shark.
Pizza Shark. The kid feeds the Pizza Shark pizza because obvious. Fucking
Pizza Shark.
It's a land shark, and he feeds it pizza to distract it. I just call it a Pizza Shark. Yeah. So there's this movie and quicksand. Obvious, it captures like all the main characters at one point, and I just remember being like, "That looks terrifying. How are they so calm? I would die." And then another irrational fear, lava.
Right, when are you ever going to encounter lava?
Yeah, never. But like,
Lava.
you don't wanna.
No.
That's
scary.
that's why the floor
It's
is
scary.
lava.
You didn't tell me.
Like,
You didn't tell me the
yeah,
floor was
you
lava!
gotta stay out of it. Quicksand.
No, not quicksand. Thank God. Fuck you.
I mean, obviously,
No, not quicksand. There's no such thing as quicksand.
Yes, there is.
That's theirs. Dumb bitch.
it's a serious threat.
Fucking stupid. Read a book. I remember that from science books I read in 5th grade.
Well, they're wrong.
Oh, yeah, you need to get those were old, out of date. I lowered the flashlight. Oh, mud, thick, gooey mud.
Ew.
My sneakers sank deep into the ooze. It's mud, it's not ooze. We just established this. I pulled my leg up with a groan, and nearly toppled over backwards. It's just mud, I told myself. Disgusting, but it's no big deal. But then I saw the spiders.
Let me hit you with this.
Dozens of them.
Spiders.
The biggest spiders I ever saw. There must have been a nest of them in the mud. What? Spider nest. Mud spiders! They were crawling over my shoe, crawling up the leg of my jeans. Oh, yuck. Dozens of spiders clung to me. I shook my sneaker hard, and then I began batting at them with my free hand. I hate this camp! I screamed. I beat some spiders away with the flashlight, and then I had an idea. I mean, why shouldn't I pay Brianna and Meg back for what they did to me? They embarrassed me in front of the whole camp, and I hardly did anything to them. I emptied the batteries of the flashlight, took a deep breath, and then bent down and scooped up a bunch of spiders into the flashlight. Yuck.
Why get good when you could get even?
If I get good and you can get bad.
Nice.
Yuck. I felt sick. I really did. I mean, can you imagine me handling spiders? I mean, I knew it would be worth it soon. I filled the flashlight with squirming black creatures, and then I screwed on the top. I stepped over a fallen tree trunk, found the path, and carrying the flashlight carefully, I eagerly hurried to the cabin. I stopped outside the door. The lights were on inside the cabin. I peeked through the open window. No sign of anyone. I crept inside. I pulled up the blanket on Brianna's bed. Then I emptied half of the spiders onto her sheet. I carefully pulled the blanket over them and smoothed it out. I was pouring the rest of the spiders into Meg's bed when I heard a shuffling noise behind me. Quickly, I pulled Meg's blanket back into place and spun around. Jan stepped in the cabin. "What's up?" I asked her "What's up?" She asked in her hoarse, croaky voice. "Nothing," I replied, hiding the flashlight behind my back. Jan yawned. "Well, it's lights out in 10 minutes. Huh," she said. I glanced at Brianna's bunk. I'd left one corner of the blanket untucked. Brianna wouldn't notice, I decided. I realized I was grinning. I quickly changed my expression. I didn't want Jan asking a lot of questions. She turned and pulled a long white nightshirt from her dresser drawer. "What did you sign up for tomorrow?" she asked. "Free swim?" "No, canoeing," I told her. I want to be in a nice dry canoe. No flopping around in the dirty lake with fish and other slimy creatures. "Hey, me too," Jan said. I started to ask if she would be my buddy, but Brianna and Meg came strolling through the door. They saw me and burst out laughing. "What was that wild dance you were doing at the campfire?" Brianna teased. You looked like you had a snake or something in your back," Meg declared. They laughed some more. That's okay, I thought. Go ahead and laugh. In a few minutes, when you climb under your covers, I'll be laughing. I couldn't wait. "Show me the spiders."
A few minutes later, Jan turned out the lights. I lay on the hard mattress, staring up at Meg's mattress above my head, grinning, waiting. Meg shifted her weight in the bunk above me, and I heard her gasp. And then both Brianna and Meg began to scream. I laughed out loud. I couldn't hold it in. "It bit me! It bit me!" Brianna howled. The lights flashed on. "Help!" Meg cried. She leaped out of bed. Her bare feet hit the floor hard. It sounded like an elephant landing. Got him. "It bit me!" Brianna cried. She and Meg were both on the floor now, dancing and wriggling, slapping at their arms and their legs and their backs. I bit my lip to make myself stop laughing. "Spiders! Spiders all over!" Meg shrieked. Ow, it bit me too. She pulled up the sleeve of her nightshirt. Ow, that hurts. Jan stood at the light switch. I hadn't moved from my bed. I was enjoying it too much, watching them squirm and dance. But Jan's words wiped the smile from my face. Sarah put the spiders there. She told Brianna and Meg. I saw her messing around at your bunks when I came in. What a snitch. I guess she was still angry at me because I spilled her asthma medicine. Well, that put an end to the fun. I think Brianna and Meg wanted to strangle me. They both had to go to the infirmary and wake up with the camp nurse. They had to make sure the spider bites weren't poisonous. How was I to know that these were those kinds of spiders that bite? This was a joke, after all. I tried to apologize when they came trudging back from the nurse, but they wouldn't speak to me. Neither would Jan. Oh well, I sighed. So they won't be my friends. I'll make other friends. The next morning in the mess hall I ate breakfast alone. The room had 2 long tables that stretched from wall to wall. One for the boys, one for the girls. I sat at the far end of the girls' table and spooned up my cornflakes in silence. All the other girls were chatting away at the other end of the table. Brianna and Meg kept flashing me angry looks. I saw Aaron at the boys' table. He and his friends were laughing and goofing on each other. Aaron bounced a pancake on his forehead. Another boy slapped it off. At least he's having fun, I thought bitterly. I had the sudden urge to go over and tell Aaron how unhappy I was, but I knew he would just tell me to lighten up. So I sat at my lonely end of the table and choked down my cornflakes. Did things get better when I arrived at the lake for canoeing? 3 guesses. I only need 1. Kids were already pulling their canoes off the grassy shore into the water. They all seemed to be paired up. Liz walked over to me. Her white one-piece bathing suit glowed in the morning sunlight. She had her frizzy red hair tied behind her head. She let a silver whistle fall from her mouth. "What's your name?" she asked, eyes on the lake. "Sarah," I told her. "I signed up for canoeing, but..." "You need a buddy," she said. "Find a buddy. The canoes are over there." And then she pointed and trotted away. Canoes splashed into the water. The slap of the wooden paddles echoed around the shore. I ran to the stack of canoes searching for a buddy, but everyone already chose partners. I was about to give up when I spotted Jan, pulling a canoe to the water. "Do you have a buddy?" I called. She shook her head. "Well, can I come with you?" I asked. "I don't think so," she replied nastily. "Do you have any more of those spiders you want to set loose?" "Jan, please," I started. "Are you 2 together?" Liz appeared behind us, startling us both. "No, Jan started. "I want to be her buddy, but she doesn't want to," I said. I didn't mean to whine, it just came out that way. And Jan made an ugly face at me. "Get your canoe in the water," Liz ordered. "You 2 are the last ones in." Jan started to protest, and then she shrugged and sighed. "Okay, Sarah, let's go." We pulled on life preservers, then I grabbed a paddle in one end of the canoe. We dragged it to the water. The little boat bobbed against the shore. The lake current was stronger than I thought. Low waves plopped steadily against the grassy shore. Jan climbed in and took a seat in the front. "Thanks for embarrassing me in front of Liz," she muttered. "I didn't mean..." I started. "Okay, push off," she commanded. I tossed my paddle into the canoe, and then I leaned over and gave the boat a hard shove with both my hands. It slid smoothly away from the shore, and then I had to wade out to it to put myself inside. "Whoa!" As I struggled to hoist myself up, the canoe nearly tipped over. "Watch it!" Jan snapped. "You're such a klutz, Sarah." "Sorry," I murmured. I was so grateful to have a buddy. I didn't want any more trouble between us. I pulled myself into the canoe and dropped down behind Jan. The canoe bobbed up and down as we began to paddle. The rocking water sparkled like silver under the bright morning sunshine. It took us a while to find the right rhythm. Neither of us spoke. The slap of our paddles and the rush of water against the little canoe were the only sounds we made. The lake gleamed in front of us like a giant round mirror. I could see several canoes up ahead, and Jan and I were far behind them. The rubber life preservers were hot and heavy. We pulled them off and dropped them to the canoe floor. We paddled steadily, not too fast, not too slow. I glanced back. The shore seemed miles away. I felt a chill of fear. I'm not that strong of a swimmer. I suddenly wondered if I could swim all the way to the shore from out here. "Hey!" As I stared back at the shore, the canoe suddenly started to rock. Whoa! I grabbed the sides. I turned, and to my horror, saw Jan standing up.
Jan, no!
Jan, stop! What are you doing? I shrieked. What are you doing? And the little boat rocked harder. I gripped the sides, struggling to steady it, and Jan took a step. The canoe tilted. Water splashed over my feet. Jan, stop! I cried again. Sit down! What are you doing? She narrowed her eyes at me. Bye, Sarah.
Goodbye! The boat tilted more as she raised one foot to the side. She pulled off the t-shirt she had over her swimsuit and tossed it into the canoe floor. No, please, I begged. Don't leave me out here. I'm not a good swimmer. What if the boat tips over? I don't think I can swim back from here. You ruined my summer, she accused. Now everyone knows I have asthma, so they won't let me go on the 6-day canoe trip. But it was an accident, I sputtered. And you're messing up everything for Brianna and Meg, too, Jan said angrily. No, wait, I started. I wanted to apologize to them. I didn't mean... She shifted her weight. Tilted the canoe the other way. Then she shifted her weight again. Again, deliberately making the canoe rock. Deliberately for trying to frighten me. Don't tip it over. Jan, please, I pleaded. She tilted it more. Made it rock so hard I thought I'd tumble out. I'm really not a good swimmer, I repeated. I really don't think I... She uttered a disgusted moan. Then she tossed her hair back, raised her arms over her head, bent her knees, and kicked off, and dove into the lake. No! I let out a cry as the boat rocked violently. Jan's dive sent up a tall, foamy wave of water. The canoe tilted, rocked, and flipped over! It hit with a smack. Cold water rose up around me as I sank, frozen in shock. I felt the canoe bounce above me and on the surface, and then I started to choke as water invaded my mouth and my nose and mouth. Sputtering and gagging, I thrashed my arms and legs, pushed myself to the surface, and raised my head over the bobbing current. Still sputtering, I sucked in a deep breath of fresh air, and then another. Floating on the surface, I saw the canoe bobbing upside down on the water. I struggled to catch my breath to slow my racing heart, and then I swam to the canoe. I grabbed onto it, wrapped one arm around it, held on for dear life. Bobbing with the canoe, I squinted into the sunlight, searching for Jan. Jan! Jan! I called to her. Jan, where are you? I turned and searched in all directions. A feeling of cold dread tightened my chest. Jan! Jan! Can you hear me?
I held on to the canoe with one hand and shielded my eyes with the other. Jan! Jan! I shouted her name as loudly as I could, and then I spotted her. I saw her blonde hair glowing in the bright sunlight, and I saw her red swimsuit, her arms moving steadily, smoothly, her feet kicking up foamy waves. She was making her way to the shore, and she swam away and left me here, I realized. I turned and searched for the other canoes, squinting against the sun. I could see them far ahead of me, too far away to hear my shouts. Maybe I could turn the canoe over, I decided, and then I can climb in and paddle back to shore. Oh, but where were the paddles? I raised my eyes to the camp and saw Jan talking to Liz. She was waving her arms frantically and pointing out to the water, pointing to me. A crowd of kids gathered around them. I could hear the excited voices, shouts, and cries. I saw Liz pull a canoe into the water. She's coming to rescue me, I realized. Jan must have told her I couldn't swim all the way back. And I suddenly felt embarrassed. I knew all the kids on shore were watching me. I knew they were talking about what a wimp I must be. But I didn't care. I just wanted to get back on dry land. It didn't take Liz long to paddle out to me, and when I pulled myself onto the canoe, I started to thank her. But she didn't let me get a word out. Why did you do it, Sarah? She demanded. Excuse me? I gasped. Do what? Why did you tip the canoe over? Liz asked. I opened my mouth to protest, but only a squeak came out. Liz frowned at me. Jan says you deliberately tipped over the canoe. Don't you know how dangerous that is, Sarah? But... I'm calling a special camp meeting because of this, Liz said. Water safety is so important. The water safety rules must be followed at all times. Camp Cold Lake couldn't exist if campers didn't follow every rule. I wish it didn't exist, I muttered unhappily. So Liz held a long meeting at the lodge, and everyone at camp had to be there. So she went over the rules of water safety, again, rule by rule. And then she showed an endless slideshow about the buddy system. I sat way on the side and stared down at the floor, but every time I raised my eyes I saw Brianna, Meg, and Jan glaring angrily at me. Other campers kept staring at me too, and I guess they all blamed me for this long, boring meeting. Jan probably told everyone in camp that I was the one who tipped over the canoe. I want you to memorize all 20 water safety rules, Liz was saying, and more campers angrily stared at me. Everyone hates me, I thought, shaking my head sadly, and there's nothing I could do about it. And then suddenly, I had an idea.
I'll kill them.
AIDS.
With AIDS. I'm gonna run away, I told Aaron.
That's a good.
Goodbye,
point.
he said
Good
calmly. Good luck. No, really, I insisted.
point.
I'm not kidding. I'm gonna go. I'm really going to run away from this camp. Send me a postcard, Aaron said. I had dragged him away from the mess hall after dinner. I really needed to talk to him. I pulled him to the edge of the lake. No one else was down there. Everyone was still in the mess hall at the lodge. I glanced at the canoes, stacked in piles of 3 near the water. I pictured Jan's blonde hair, red swimsuit. I pictured her swimming away, leaving me in the middle of the lake. And then lying to Liz, getting me in trouble. I shook Aaron by the shoulders. Why won't you take me seriously? I cried through clenched teeth. He laughed. You shouldn't shake a person after they've just eaten a camp meatloaf. He let out a loud burp. You're so gross, I groaned. He grinned. It's a family tradition. Stop joking around. I mean it, I snapped. I'm really unhappy, Aaron. I hate this camp. There's no phone here we can use. I can't call Mom and Dad, so I'm going to run away. His expression changed. He saw I was serious. He skipped a flat stone across the water and watched the ripples spread out, and then disappear. The lake reflected the gray evening sky. Everything was gray. The ground, the sky, the water, Aaron. Reflections of trees shimmered darkly in the gray sky.
My heart.
Wait. Where are you going to run? Aaron asked softly. I could see him quickly becoming the mature, wiser brother again. But I didn't care. I had to tell him my plan. I couldn't leave camp without letting him know. Through the woods, I said. I pointed. There's a town on the other side of the woods. When I get to town, I'm going to call Mom and Dad and tell them to come get me. You can't, Aaron protested. I stuck my chin out. Why not? We're not allowed in the woods, he replied. Richard said the woods were dangerous, remember? I shoved Aaron. I was so tense, so angry. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I don't care what Richard said, I bellowed. I'm running away, remember? Give the camp a chance, Sarah, Aaron urged. We haven't been here a whole week. Give the place a chance. That's when I totally lost it. I hate it when you're so sensible, Aaron, I screamed. I shoved him hard with both hands. His mouth flew open. He lost his balance and toppled into the lake. He landed on his back in the wet mud just past the shore. Oof. I heard the air shoot out of him. Sorry, I started. It was an accident, Aaron, He scrambled to his feet, pulling up the greasy muck and seaweed with him, shaking his fists, calling me all kinds of names.
Cunt!
Bitch! I sighed. Now even my brother was furious with me. What is wrong with this woman? She's terrible. What am I going to do? I asked myself. What can I do? Not be a bitch. As I trudged back to the cabin, another plan began to form in my mind. A really desperate plan. A really dangerous plan. Tomorrow, I muttered to myself, I'm gonna show them all.
Oh no. Stop it. Aaron, don't come to camp tomorrow. Don't come to canoeing tomorrow.
Don't come in the mess hall. I'm gonna make it messy.
I thought about my plan all the next morning. I was frightened, but I knew I had to go through with it. Our group had free swim that afternoon. Of course, everyone had a buddy but me. I dug my bare feet into the muddy shore and watched everyone pair up and head for the water. Puffy white clouds floated overhead, reflected in the nearly still water. Whoop. Tiny gnats jumped over the surface of the water. I stared at them, wondering why they didn't get wet. Sarah, it's swim time, Liz called. She hurried over to me. She wore a pink one-piece bathing suit under crisp, white tennis shorts. I adjusted my swimsuit top. My hands were trembling. I was really scared by what I planned to do. Why aren't you swimming? Liz demanded. She brushed a fly off my shoulder. I don't have a buddy, I stammered. She glanced around, trying to find someone for me, but everyone was in the lake. Well, Liz twisted her mouth fretfully. Go ahead and swim by yourself. Fuck those 20 rules that I made us go through twice. And talk about the buddy system extensively. Just stay close to shore so I can keep an eye on you. Great. Thanks, I said, smiling at her, and then trotted enthusiastically to the edge of the water. I didn't want her to guess that it was just going to be a normal swim for me, that I had something really terrible in mind. I stepped into the water. Ooh, so cold. A cloud rolled over the sun. The sky darkened. The air grew colder. I am Storm from X-Men. My feet sank into the muddy bottom of the lake. Up ahead I saw the gnats, hundreds of them, hopping on the water. Yuck, I thought. Why do I have to swim with mud and gnats? I took a deep breath and stepped out further. When the cold water was nearly up to my waist, I lowered my body in and started to swim. I swam a few long laps. I needed to get used to the water. I needed to get my breathing steady. A short distance away, Brianna and some of the other girls were having some kind of relay race. They were laughing and cheering and having a great time. They won't be laughing in a few minutes, I told myself bitterly. A tall spray of water rushed over me, and I cried out. Another wave smacked my face. It took me a few seconds to realize that I was being splashed on by Aaron. He rose up in front of me and spit a stream of water into my face. Yuck! How can you put this water in your mouth? I cried, totally grossed out.
Yeah.
He laughed and splashed away to join his buddies. He won't be laughing in a few minutes either, I told myself. He'll treat me differently after today. Everyone will. I suddenly felt guilty. I should have told Aaron what I planned to do. Didn't really want to scare him, Just wanted to scare everyone else. But I knew if I told him my plan, if I told practical, sensible Aaron, he would talk me out of it, or go tell Liz so that she would stop me. Well, no one's gonna stop me, I vowed. Have you guessed my desperate plan?
No.
It was really quite simple.
Oh?
I planned to drown myself.
What the fuck?
Well, not really.
Oh.
I planned to dive down to the lake bottom and stay under for a long, long time and make everyone think that I drowned. I can hold my breath for a real long time. It's because I play the flute, duh. I've really developed my lung power. I could probably stay underwater for like 2 or 3 full minutes. Long enough to scare everyone to death. Everyone will panic. Even Brianna, Meg, and Jan.
Yeah.
And then, everyone will feel sorry for how mean they were to me. And I'll get a new start. And after my close call in the lake, everyone in camp will be nice to me. And everyone will want to be my buddy. So here goes. I took one last long look at the laughing, shouting swimmers, and I sucked in the biggest breath I ever had. And plunged down to the bottom of the lake.
I've seen this episode of SpongeBob. You never want to pretend like you drowned.
Yeah, no.
No. The lake was shallow for only a few feet. Then the lake bottom gave way in a steep drop. I kicked hard, pushing myself away from the other swimmers, and then I pulled myself upright, lowering my feet. Yes. I dropped my hands to my sides and let myself sink. Down. Down. I opened my eyes as they dropped to the bottom of the lake bottom. I only saw green waves of pale light shimmering through the green. I'm floating inside an emerald, I thought. Floating down in a sparkling green jewel. I pictured the tiny emerald on the ring Mom wore every day. Her engagement ring. I thought about Dad and Mom. I thought about how sad they'd be if I really did drown. We never should have sent Sarah to the water sports camp, they would say. My feet hit the soft lake floor. A bubble of air escaped my mouth. I pressed my lips together, holding the air inside. I slowly floated up toward the surface. I closed my eyes. I kept my whole body still to make it look like as if I drowned. I pictured the horror on Liz's face when she saw my body floating so still, floating under the water, my hair bobbing on the surface. I almost laughed when I thought of Liz jumping into the lake to rescue me, having to get her crisp white tennis shorts wet. I forced myself to remain still. I shut my eyes even tighter and thought about Brianna, Meg, and Jan. They'll feel so guilty. They'll never forgive themselves for the way they treated me. After my close call, they'll see how mean they were, and they'll want to be my best friends. They'll be best friends with me. Well, I'll be best friends, and then we'll have a great summer together. My chest began to feel tight. The back of my throat began to burn. I opened my lips and let out a few more air bubbles. My throat still burned, and so did my chest. I floated face down. I kept my legs stiff and let my arms hang loosely at my sides. I listened for shouts of alarm. Someone must have spotted me by now. I listened for cries of help, for kids calling Liz. But I heard only silence, the heavy silence you hear when you're underwater. I let out another bubble of air. My chest really hurt now. It felt about to explode. I opened my eyes. Was anyone nearby? Was anyone coming to rescue me? I saw only green. Where is everybody? I wondered. Liz must have spotted me by now. Why isn't she pulling me out of the water? I pictured her again in her white tennis shorts. I pictured her tan arms and legs. I pictured her red hair. Liz, where are you? Liz, why don't you see me drowning here? You said you'd keep an eye on me, remember? I can't stay under much longer. My chest is about to explode. My whole body is tingling, burning. My head feels like it's about to blow open. Can't anyone see me here? A wave of dizziness swept over me. I shut my eyes, but the dizziness didn't go away. I pushed out the rest of the air in my lungs. No air, I thought. No air left. My arms and legs ached. My chest burned. With my eyes closed, I saw bright yellow spots, dancing yellow lights. They grew brighter, brighter. They did a fast, furious dance all around me, around my burning, tingling body. My chest, exploding, exploding. I'm so cold, I realized. Suddenly, I feel so cold. The dancing, darting yellow lights lights grew brighter, brighter as spotlights, bright as flashbulbs flashing in my eyes, flashing all around my still cold body. I shuddered from the cold, shuddered again. Cold, thick water filled my mouth. I've stayed under too long, I realized. No one is coming. No one is coming to save me. Too long. Too long. I struggled to see, but the lights were too bright. I can't see. I can't see. I swallowed another mouthful of water. I can't see. I can't breathe. I can't stand there any longer. I can't wait any longer. I struggled to raise my head out of water, but it felt so heavy it weighed a ton. I can't stay down. I can't breathe. With a burst of strength, I moved my shoulders, pulled them up, hoisted my head. So heavy, so heavy. My hair filled with water. My hair is so heavy. The water running down my face, over my eyes. I turned to shore, squinted through the bright, darting lights, squinted hard through the water running down my face, squinted. No one there. I turned again. My eyes searched the water. No one there. No one swimming. No one on the shore. Where is everybody? I wondered, shivering, shuddering, where did everybody go? She went through a fucking portal in the goddamn lake.
Fucking taken for a night swim indeed. I struggled to shore. My feet were numb. I couldn't feel the muddy bottom as I staggered out of the water. I rubbed my arms. I couldn't feel the touch of my hands. Couldn't feel the water pouring off of me and running down my back. Couldn't feel anything. Numb all over. Lincoln Park. Where is everyone? I called. But did I make a sound? Did I have a voice? I couldn't hear myself. I stepped onto the grass and shook myself, like a dog trying to get dry, trying to shake some feeling into my cold, numb body. She's the skeleton.
Yeah. You just figured that out now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
She killed herself.
Nice.
Not nice.
Where is everyone? I called. But did I make a sound? Did I have a voice? I couldn't hear myself. I stepped onto the grass and shook myself like a dog trying to get dry, trying to shake some feeling into my cold, numb body. Where did you all go? Hugging myself, I stumbled forward. I stopped when I saw the canoes, all tacked up and down by the shore, tied up. Weren't kids canoeing today? Weren't the canoes all out in the lake? Hey, I shouted. But why couldn't I hear my shout? Where is everyone? No one on the shore. I spun around, nearly losing my balance. No one in the water. No one. No one anywhere. I stumbled past the life preservers and rubber rafts covered with a canvas tarp. Isn't anyone going to use them? I wondered. Why are they covered up? Why did everyone leave the lake so quickly? Shivering, hugging myself, I made my way toward the lodge, and I gasped when I noticed the trees. Bare. All winter bare. No! A frightened wail escaped my throat. A silent wail. Could anyone hear me? When had the leaves fallen? When had they fallen in the middle of the summer? I started to trot along the path to the lodge. Cold, so cold. Something stung my shoulder. Something tingled my eyelids. Snow? Yes. Tiny white flakes drifted down, blown by a steady breeze. The bare trees rattled and creaked. I brushed snowflakes from my wet hair. Snow. But I knew that was impossible. All impossible. Hey! My shout echoed through the trees. Or did it?
Huh.
Can anyone hear my frightened call? Help! I shouted. Somebody help me! Silence, except for the creaking tree limbs overhead. I started to run again. My bare feet moved silently over the cold ground. The cabins came into view as I made my way out of the trees. Their flat roofs were covered by a thin layer of snow. The ground was as gray as the sky. The cabins were all dark. The shingled walls gray, gray all around me, a cold world of gray. I pushed open the door of the first cabin I came to. Hey, I need help, I cried. I stared into an empty room. No one there, no camp trunks, no clothes scattered about. I raised my eyes to the bunk beds against the wall. The blankets, the sheets, the mattresses had all been taken away. I guess the cabin isn't being used, I thought. I backed out of the door, turned, and ran down the row of cabins, all dark and silent. My cabin stood where the path curved up the hill, and with a sigh of relief I ran up to it and pushed open the door. Brianna? Meg? Empty. Dark. The mattress is gone, the posters pulled down, no clothes, no bags or trunks, no sign that anyone had ever lived here. Where are you? I shrieked. And then, where am I? Where was my stuff? Where was my bed? Uttering another terrified wail, I lurched out of the cabin. Cold, so cold and numb, running through the cold in my wet bathing suit. I tore through the camp, pulling open doors, peering into bare, empty rooms, calling for someone, anyone to help me. Into the main lodge, my cries echoed off the high wooden rafters. Or did they? Was I really just making a sound? Why couldn't I hear myself? I burst into the mess hall. The long wooden benches had been stacked on the top of tables. The kitchen stood dark and empty. What has happened? I wondered, unable to stop my trembling. Where did everyone go? Why did they all leave? How do they leave so quickly? How can it be snowing? I stumbled back out into the gray cold. Wisps of gray fog floated low over the gray ground. I hugged my gray, frozen body, trying to gray warm myself. Terrified and confused, I wandered from building to building. I felt as if I were swimming again, swimming in the thick gray mists, swimming through endless layers of Grey's Anatomy. And then I stopped when I heard a voice, a tiny voice, a girl's voice, singing. She was singing in a high, frail voice. I'm not alone, I cried. I listened to her song, a sad song sung so softly, and then I called out to her, Where are you? I can't see you. Where are you?
What do you think she was singing?
No. You're going to fucking. You're being thematic, and what I need you to do is like.
You're a firework.
I was thinking
now
that.
you're dead and gross, and everyone's gone.
I was trying to think of. I was trying to think something like ridiculous. You know, like.
I get in the morning, I step outside, and I take a breath, and I get
I was gonna say like come on baby, come and take a ride with me with a throw in the back of the benzene. Oh wow, must I live real soon? Hey, must be the money. You know, she's just like doing every part.
I followed the tiny voice to the lodge. I saw the girl perched on the wooden steps.
Shoot da whoop, shoot da whoop.
Girl's afraid to leave her stoop. Hey! I called. Hey! I was looking for someone. Can you help me? She kept singing
Walking
as if
around
she
the
didn't
farm with
see
a
me.
butt like that.
As I walked
Can I get
closer,
some
I realized
fries
she
with
was
a
singing
shake, booty?
the Camp Cold Lake song
It
in her
looks
tiny
to kill,
little
then you
voice.
must be an Uzi. I'm a shotgun. Bang! What's up with that?
She had
bang?
long curls of white blonde hair that flowed down the sides of her face.
I
A
wanna
pretty
know,
face,
how does it hang?
delicate and pale, so incredibly pale. She wore a sleeveless white tee and white shorts. Snowflakes fell all around us. I shivered, but she didn't seem to notice the cold.
This bitch is singing Taylor Swift.
Well, the weather outside is frightful.
See, that's not fair. That's a Christmas song.
That's don't give a shit. She tilted. It's Christmas. It's fucking winter. She
Oh, okay,
tilted
good
her
point.
head from side to side as she sang. Her round blue eyes stared out at the sky. They reminded me of shiny blue marbles in her pale, pale face. I stepped up in front of her. I brushed snowflakes from my forehead. She didn't turn to me until her song was finished. Then she smiled. Hi, Sarah. Her speaking voice was as soft as her singing. How do you know my name? I stammered. Her smile grew wider. I've been waiting for you, she replied. My name is Della. Della, I'm so cold, I blurted out. She rose to her feet, turned, and pulled something out from behind the steps. A white butthole. Oh, a white bathrobe. But she held up and slipped it around my trembling shoulders. Her hands were so light, I could barely feel them. She helped me tie the belt. Then she stepped back and smiled at me again. I've been waiting for you, Sarah, she said. Her voice was a sigh, a whisper. Excuse me? I cried. Waiting? She nodded, and her white blonde hair fluttered with every move of her head. I can't leave without you, Sarah. I need a buddy. I stared at her, trying to understand. Where is everyone? I cried. Where did everyone go? Why are you the only one here? I brushed snowflakes from my eyebrows. Della, how did it get to be winter? You'll be my buddy, won't you, Sarah? Her blue eyes burned into mine. Her hair glowed around her pale face. I blinked. I don't understand, I started. Please answer my questions. You'll be my buddy, won't you? She repeated, pleading with those amazing eyes. I've waited so long for a buddy, Sarah. So long. But Della, she started to sing again. I shoved my hands into the pockets of the robe. I shivered. I couldn't get warm. I couldn't stop shaking. Why was she singing the Camp Cold Lake song so sadly? Was there a happy way to sing it? Why wouldn't she answer my questions? Why did she know my name? And why does she say she's been waiting for me? Della, please, I begged. Singing her strange, sad song, she floated up the wooden stairs to the lodge. Her hair shimmered golden in the gray light. Swirls of fog curled around her as she moved. Oh! I cried out when I realized I could see right through her. Della? She floated over the stairs, tilting her head from side to side. Yeah, doing the middle fucking music singer thing. Yeah. Singing in her breathy whisper of a voice.
A little bit of Monica in my life. A little bit of Sandra all the time.
A little bit of Sarah, won't you be my buddy? A little bit of Della, you looking freaky.
It's pretty good.
She stopped singing and smiled at me again. Snowflakes covered her blonde hair. The fog still swirled around her. I could see the dark shingles of the lodge through her body. I stared right through her. Sarah, you're my buddy now, she whispered. I need a buddy. Everyone at Camp Cold Lake needs a buddy.
I mean, you're getting what you asked for.
But you're dead, I blurted out. Della is dead, I realized, and I'm her buddy. That means I'm dead too.
Wonderful delivery. Oh, this is going places I didn't think it was gonna go.
I'm enjoying it, actually.
Della floated over to me, so light, so pale, so crisp, so fresh. The wind fluttered her hair. It rose around her like a shimmering halo. You're dead, I murmured. And I am too. Saying the words sent a cold shudder down my body. I began to realize the truth. I began to see what had happened. Della had probably drowned here. Drowned in the lake. And that was why everyone at the camp was so crazy about water safety. That explained the endless water safety lectures and the long list of rules, and why the counselors insisted on the buddy system at all times. Della drowned here, and now I'm her buddy. I'm her buddy because I drowned too. No! A long wail of horror, of disbelief, escaped my throat. I threw my head back and wailed like an animal. It's pretty much what I just
Perfect.
did. Wailed out of my sorrow.
Yours is more ecstasy.
Ah!
And over the end there.
Della floated over to me, watching me, waiting for me to stop. She knew what I was thinking. She knew I'd figured everything out. So she waited patiently. How long had she been waiting there for? Waiting for a buddy. Another dead buddy. How long had she been waiting for another unlucky girl to drown?
I'm not your buddy, guy.
I'm not your guy, buddy.
I ain't your pal, buddy.
I ain't your pal, friend. No, I moaned. No, I won't do it, Della. I can't do it. I won't be your buddy, guy. I won't.
Too perfect.
I spun around, so dizzy. Well, you also got to remember that the Canadians did the TV show too, because it was like a price cut to film over there, like fucking like Ryan Gosling and Hayden Christensen, like, you know, bunch of kids went over and did Goosebumps episodes. You got to also remember, Are You Afraid of the Dark was Canadian too,
was it? Okay.
because you know, there's another. I'm pretty sure it was, because there are definitely some episodes where like those accents just come through and you're just like, fuck. Yeah. I spun around so dizzy I nearly dropped to my knees. I started to run. The white robe flew open. It flapped beside me like wings as I ran away from her. Ran barefoot over the snowy ground. Ran through the swirls of fog, through the gray. Come back, Sarah, I heard Della call to me. Come back. You have to be my buddy. I'm trapped here, trapped as a ghost. I can't leave this camp. I can't get to the other world without a buddy. But I didn't stop. I kept running through the camp, past the cabins, past the supply sheds at the edge of the woods. I kept running from her calls, running from her ghostly voice. I don't want to be her buddy, I told myself. I don't want to be a ghost, guy. I blinked away snowflakes as I ran through the bare, creaking trees, ran without looking back. I stopped when I reached the lakeshore, stopped when I felt the cold water lap over my feet, the cold, gray water. I struggled to catch my breath, but my chest hurt. Felt about to explode. Gasping, I turned and saw Della floating through the trees, floating toward me, her eyes glowing with blue fire. You can't leave me. You can't leave without me, Sarah, she called. You can't leave, Sarah. I turned away from her, turned back to the water. My chest, my head, everything hurt so much I couldn't breathe. My chest was gonna burst. I sank to the mud as the gray faded to black.
She gave herself to the mud. Pinpricks of white light danced above me. I thought of fireflies darting above the grass late at night. The tiny lights grew brighter, round, like flashlight beams. Brighter still, until I was staring into a glowing ball of gold. I blinked. It took me a while to realize that I was staring up at the sun. I turned my head away. I suddenly felt heavy. I could feel the ground beneath me. I could feel the weight of my body on the ground. My body, my solid body, coming back to me. I heard a groan. Someone moved above me. I blinked several times and squinted up at Liz. Her face was red. Her mouth was twisted in a hard scowl. Oh, I groaned as she pressed both hands on my chest. Raised her hands, pressed again. I felt water slide from my mouth. I choked, felt more water pelt down my chin. She's coming around, Liz announced. She pressed hard on my chest again. She's alive! Liz cried. Behind her, I could see bare legs, swimsuits, campers. Yes, the other campers. I groaned again. Liz continued to work over me. I'm lying on my back, I realized. I'm on the lakeshore. Liz is giving me CPR. The other campers are standing around me, watching Liz save my life. I'm alive! The word burst from my throat. I sat up and gazed around. Everyone is back, I realized. It's summer again. The leaves are back on the trees. The sun is beaming down. And everyone is back, including me. Liz uttered a sigh and sank back on her knees. Sarah, are you okay? She asked breathlessly. She mopped sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. Are you okay? I think so, I murmured. I had a sour taste in my mouth. I still felt a little dizzy. Behind Liz, some campers cheered and applauded. We thought you were gone for a moment, Liz, sighed. You stopped breathing. What a scare! What a scare! Two counselors helped me to my feet. I tried to shake off my dizziness. I am okay, I cried. Thank you, Liz. You saved my life. I hugged Liz. Then I turned and hugged Aaron. Brianna and Meg were standing nearby. I startled them by hugging them too. I was so happy to be alive. So happy to be away from that gray winter. Away from that frightening ghost girl in the empty camp. Sarah, what happened? Asked Liz, placing a hand on my still wet shoulder. She gently brushed my hair back. I'm not sure, I told her. I'm not really sure. Liz shuddered. When you stopped breathing, I got scared. I'm fine now, I told her with a smile. Thanks to you. She did it for attention, I heard someone mutter. I turned, and I saw Jan whispering to another girl. Now everyone has to say, poor Sarah. Poor Sarah, Jan whispered nastily. Now everyone has to be nice to her. I felt hurt. I opened my mouth to say something to Jan, but I was so happy to be back, so happy to be alive, I just ignored it. I rested my hand on Aaron's shoulder and let him walk me back to my cabin. I'm going to enjoy the rest of camp, I told my brother. I really am. Doubt it. The nurse checked me out carefully, and then I rested all afternoon. I took a long nap. When I awoke, I was starving. I realized I hadn't eaten all day. I put on jeans, and they fit great because I need all day, and a camp sweatshirt and hurried to the campfire. As I trotted down the path towards the clearing by the woods, the aroma of hot dogs and hamburgers on the barbecue drifted out to me. Richard greeted me at the campfire circle. Sarah, you look great, he exclaimed. I heard about what happened at the lake this afternoon. Well, I'm fine now, I told him. I feel great. Hey, no more close calls, he scolded, or else you're going to swim with the kiddie pool. I'll be careful, I promised. You better, because we don't have a kiddie pool, he joked. I laughed. Take a seat, he said, pointing to a circle of logs. Take a seat, everyone, he called out. We're going to have a meeting before we eat. So many meetings. Most of the campers had already taken their places. I glanced around the circle quickly, searching for a place to sit. Sarah, a voice called to me. Sarah, over here. I let out a shocked cry when I saw Della. Della, by herself on the log near the woods, her blonde hair shimmering around her pale face, the pink evening sunlight shimmering through her body, shining right through her. No! I moaned. Come over here, Sarah, Della cried. Please, sit here with me. Be my buddy.
I actually really like that. Like, you think you're out of it, and then you look to the side, and there's just this fucking dead girl sitting there like that. That's actually wild. I actually really like this. I raised my hands to my cheeks and let out a shrill scream, like that painting. No, you're not here, I wailed. You're a ghost. You don't belong here. I'm alive now. I'm alive. I turned and saw Richard and Liz hurrying toward me. Across the circle, Aaron jumped up and came running over. Sarah, what's wrong? What is it? He cried. Don't you see her? I shrieked. I pointed to the log near the woods. She's a ghost, but I'm alive. Liz wrapped her arms around me. It's okay, Sarah, she whispered. You're okay now. But she's sitting there, I sputtered. Everyone turned to the log. Yeah, there's no one there, Richard said. He narrowed his eyes at me. You've had a terrible shock, Liz said softly. Terrible shock. You're still not quite yourself, Sarah. But, I stammered. I saw Brianna, Meg, and Jan huddled together, talking softly, watching me. What are they saying about me, I wondered. Do you want me to walk you back? Do you want me to walk you back to your cabin? Richard asked. I shook my head. No, I'm starving. Forget about the ghost girl. Fucking fill me up, daughter. Liz laughed. Maybe that's your problem. You're so hungry, you're seeing things. Let's get a hot dog and eat fast. After a couple of hot dogs, I started to feel better. The camp meeting began. I sat next to the girls from a different cabin. As Richard talked, I gazed around the circle, stared at the campers' faces, orange from the flickering campfire, searching for Della. Della, the ghost. Was she still here? Still watching me? Still waiting for me to be her buddy? I sat forward tensely, my whole body stiff, my eyes straining to see her pale, pale face, but she had vanished. For now. Liz took over the meeting. Most campers groaned when she started another lecture on water safety. "We had a close call today," Liz said. "A frightening close call." I knew everyone was staring at me. I could feel my face growing hot. I gazed into the yellow flames of the campfire. When I raised my eyes, I saw Brianna, Meg, Jan on the next log, whispering together. "About me?" "Our water safety rules are so important here at Camp Cold Lake," Liz was saying. "Some campers joke that having so many rules is the curse of Camp Cold Lake, because we talk about the rules so fucking much." She pressed her hands against her sides. Her eyes moved from camper to camper. "But as we saw this afternoon, the buddy system isn't a curse. It's a blessing." A face rose up behind the darting flame of fire. I gasped. "Della!" "No, a girl from another cabin, climbing up to get more food." I sank back. "I have to get away from this camp," I decided. "I can't have a good time here, not if I always have to keep an eye out for Della." Liz rattled on about water rules some more. Richard made a few more announcements. Everyone sang some gay camp songs. Whenever the campfire ended, I jumped up quickly and started along the path to my cabin. I'd only gone a few steps when I heard last footsteps behind me, and heard someone calling my name. Was it the ghost? I turned to see Aaron jogging up to me. "What was that screaming about?" he demanded. "Did you really think you saw a ghost?" "Why should I tell you?" I snapped. I continued along the path, walking rapidly. "You'll only laugh at me." "Try me," he replied, running to catch up. "I won't laugh, I promise." "I saw a ghost girl. I swear I did. She called to me. She wants me to be her buddy." Aaron laughed. "Yeah, no, really," he said. "What did you really see? Be serious." "I am serious. I have to get away from here, Aaron. I'm gonna run away. Get to a phone. Call Mom and Dad. Tonight. I'm going to tell them to come get me." "You can't," Aaron replied. He grabbed my arm and forced me to stop walking. I could see the kids staring at us as they walked past. "Mom and Dad won't want to make more than one trip out here, so if you call them, they'll come make me leave too," Aaron protested. "And I don't want to leave. I'm having a great time." "You don't understand," I told him. "I can't stay here. I can't." "Please, Sarah," he begged. "Try to stick it out. Give it a little more time. You're just a little messed up because of the lake this afternoon, but you'll be okay. Give it some time." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just told Aaron good night and headed to the cabin. I stopped outside the door. All the lights were on. I heard Brianna, Meg, Jan talking softly. They all stopped talking as soon as I stepped inside. All three of them stared hard at me. Their expressions were tense. They moved quickly, moved toward me as I started around the room. They formed a circle around me, surrounded me. "What is it?" I cried. "What are you gonna do?"
I'm gonna beat you with
I was
soap
gonna
and
say,
socks.
just beat the shit out of you.
"We want to apologize," Brianna said.
We've been kind of rough on you, Jan added in her scratchy voice. We're really sorry.
"We've been talking about it," Brianna said. We decided to have been really unfair," Meg interrupted. "We're sorry, Sarah." "I'm sorry too," I stammered. I was so stunned by their apologies I could barely speak. "Let's start over," Brianna suggested. Grabbed my hand. "Nice to meet you, Sarah. My name's Brianna."
Excellent. A fresh start,
Jan declared. "Thanks, I'm really glad," I told him, and I meant it. Jan turned to Brianna.
What do you want to do with your nails?
Brianna grinned and raised both hands. Her fingernails were a shiny, bright purple. "It's a new color," she said. "I did it after our swim." "What color is it?" Megan asked. "Grape juice, I think." "That's a color? That's a drink."
Hell
Brianna
yeah.
replied. "They all have such crazy names."
It has nothing to do with the fact that she's black.
She dug the... Jesus Christ. Jesus, god damn it. Fuck, you said you weren't gonna say anything!
Yeah, no.
You couldn't help it!
I couldn't help it.
She dug the bottle of nail polish from her pack and held it out to me. "You wanna try it?"
What's she gonna
Well,
do? She gonna have
sure.
she gonna have some fucking like fried chicken in her bag and some fucking
Watermelon.
watermelon, dude.
God damn it. "Well, sure," I replied. All four of us stayed up past lights out, making our fingernails purple. Later.
No, it's fine. I'll make jokes about, like, Polacks, too. Like, I'll go on the other side of it and say that fucking Jan's over there with fucking sauerkraut and schnitzel in her bed.
I was saying Jan was a Jew. But later I lay in my bed drifting off to sleep.
It's fucking latkes.
Ooh, some fucking is it kosher? I can't have it. I can't believe this is kosher. I had a smile on my face, thinking about my 3 bunkmates, my 3 friends. That had really cheered me up.
Beat the shit out of her with their
I'm waiting for it. Yeah, there's gonna initiator.
Fucking pee on her. You know?
That's a dominance thing.
Yeah, I know. It is. Oh, my bad.
They had really cheered me up. But my smile faded when I heard a whispered voice flat across the dark cabin. Sarah. Sarah. I gasped. And then the frail voice, soft as the wind, so close to my ear. Sarah, I thought you were my buddy, Sarah. Why did you leave me? No, please, I begged. Sarah, I waited so long for you, the ghostly voice whispered. Come with me. Come with me, Sarah. And then an icy hand gripped my shoulder.
Wow. Oh.
Gripping?
I bolted up in the bunk and stared out at Brianna's dark eyes. She let go of my shoulder. Sarah, she whispered, you were whimpering in your sleep. Huh? What? My voice quivered, my heart pounded. I realized I was drenched in sweat. You were whimpering in your sleep, Brianna repeated, crying and moaning. I thought I'd better wake you. Oh, thanks, I choked out. Must have been a bad dream, I guess. Brianna nodded and crept back to her bunk. I didn't move. I sat there, trembling, staring out across the dark cabin. A bad dream? I don't think so. You can skip the long-distance swim today if you want, Liz told me at breakfast the next morning. She leaned over my chair as I downed my cornflakes. I could smell the toothpaste on her breath. Well, I hesitated. How long is the swim? Well, we're swimming halfway across the lake, Liz replied. Halfway out, then back, and I'll be in a boat at the halfway point, so it really isn't that far. But if you feel like skipping today... I set down my spoon. I could see Meg and Brianna watching me from across the table. Beside me, Jan was struggling to choke down a half-toasted frozen waffle. Come on, swim with us, Brianna urged. I'll be your buddy, Jan said. I'll swim with you, Sarah. Our frightening canoe adventure flashed into my mind, and once again I pictured that horrible moment when Jan jumped from the canoe, tipping it over, leaving me there. But things were different now. We were friends. All 4 of us are friends now. I had to forget about what happened with the canoe. I had to forget about our bad start. Okay, I agreed. Thanks, Jan. I'll be your buddy. I turned to Liz. I'm ready to swim. The morning sun still floated low in the sky. It kept fading behind broad gray clouds, and each time the sun disappeared, the air became cold as the water. The lake was so cold in the early morning. As I waded in, I suddenly realized why it was named Cold Lake.
Huh?
It's 'cause it's like green. We all stepped carefully into the water, shivering and complaining. The water lapped over our ankles, stinging them, and I stopped with a gasp and waited to get used to the cold. I raised my eyes to the sound of the motorboat and saw Liz chugging her place into the middle of the lake, and when she reached the spot, she cut the engine. Then she picked up an electric megaphone. Warm up first, everyone, she instructed us, and we all laughed. Warm up? How are we supposed to warm up? It's freezing. 2 girls near the shore began splashing each other. Stop it! Whoa, it's cold! One of them shrieked. Taking another few steps over the lake's soft bottom, I adjusted the top of my blue swimsuit. We need wetsuits, I told Jan, and she nodded, then waded out until the water lapped at her waist. Come on, Sarah, stick together. She motioned for me to follow. I took a deep breath and plunged into the water. A shock of cold swept over my body, but I dove under the water and swam out a few strongs. Then I raised my head and turned back to Jan. Show off, she muttered. She dipped her hands into the water, still struggling to get used to the cold. I laughed. It's refreshing, I exclaimed, brushing my wet hair back. Come on, just push off, it isn't that bad. Jan lowered herself into the water. Most of the swimmers were in the water now, moving in circles, floating on their backs, treading water. Line up, everyone, Liz instructed from her boat. Her voice, through the megaphone, echoed off the trees behind me. Line up, 2 at a time, let's go. It took a while for everyone to get in place. Jan and I were second in line. I watched the first 2 girls begin to swim, and one of them moved with smooth, steady strokes. The other one splashed and thrashed. Everyone cheered them on. Jan and I gave them about a 2-minute head start, then we began to swim. I tried to copy the first girl's rhythmic stroke. I didn't want to look like I'm a klutz. I knew all the other swimmers were watching, but let's get real, I'm not exactly headed for the Olympics. Jan pulled ahead easily. As we swam, she kept turning back to make sure I was keeping up with her. The turnaround spot was just past Liz's motorboat, and I kept my eyes on it as I followed Jan through the water. It seemed pretty far away. Jan picked up speed, and my arms started to ache about halfway to the boat. I'm in bad shape, I told myself. I've really got to start working out or something. And Liz's boat bobbed gently up ahead of us. Liz was shouting something into the megaphone, but the splash of the water kept me from making up the words. Up ahead of me, Jan began to pick up pace. Hey, slow down, I called. But there was no way she could hear me. Ignoring the aching in my arms, I struggled to catch up with her. I kicked my legs harder, splashing up water behind me. The sun dipped once again behind a high cloud. The sky darkened and the water seemed chill. Liz's boat rocked in the water just up ahead. I kept my eyes on Jan, watching her steady kicks, her hair bobbing on the lake surface like some kind of sea creature. When Jan turns back, I'll turn back, I decided. I swam a little further. Let's turn, I pleaded silently. Jan, we're here. We're even with Liz's motorboat. I'm ready to turn back now. But to my surprise, Jan kept stroking, kept swimming, straight ahead. Her head ducked under the water, her arms moved easily, gracefully, pulling her further ahead of me. Jan? My arms ached. My chest started to burn. Hey, Jan, can we turn now? She swam steadily ahead. With a burst of energy, I pulled myself forward. Jan, wait, I called. We're supposed to head back. She stopped stroking. Did she hear me? Breathing hard, my chest burned. I swam up to her. She turned to face me. Jan? I gasped. No. Not Jan. It wasn't Jan. It was Della. Her blue eyes sparkled as a gleeful smile spread over her pale, pale face. Keep swimming, Sarah, she whispered. We're going to swim further and further. You're my buddy now.
I didn't agree to this buddiness. She grabbed my arm. I tried to tug away. My wet arm slid in her grasp, but her grip tightened around my wrist, and she held on, pulling me with her. Ow! She was strong. So strong for such a frail-looking girl. Such a frail-looking ghost. Let go! I shrieked. I struggled, slapping the water, kicking, squirming, and twisting. Della, I won't come with you! She jerked my body around, spun hard and broke free, and dropped beneath the surface. Lifting both arms, I rose up, coughing and sputtering. Where is she? Where? Was she right behind me, ready to pull me with her? Pull me out so far I couldn't swim back? I spun around. The water rocked and tilted. The clouds overhead appeared to roar past. Sarah! Sarah! Was she calling to me? Why couldn't I see her now? I turned again. My eyes stopped on the boat. Yes, the boat! Ignoring my racing heartbeats and my aching arms, I plunged forward. The boat! I've got to reach the boat before she grabs me! Swimming furiously, kicking with my last bit of strength, I dove for the boat, stretching my arms out, and grabbed the side with both hands, choking and grabbed the side of the boat and tried to pull myself in. Liz, help me! The words escaped my throat in a hoarse whisper. Liz, help me in! The sun burst from behind the clouds. I stared up into the blinding golden light. Liz, please! Hands reached down for me. She bent to pull me into the motorboat, leaning forward, pulling me up. Blinking against the bright sunlight, I raised my eyes to her face. No! Not Liz's face! Not Liz! Della! Della was pulling me into the boat! How'd you get here? What's wrong, Sarah? She whispered, pulling me up to her. Sarah, you're okay. You're perfectly okay.
Let go, I wailed. I tore myself from her grip and tried to blink away the sun, and I stared up at Liz. Not Della, Liz. Her face twisted in concern. Sarah, you're okay, she repeated. But I stared up at her, waiting for her face to change again, waiting for her to become Della again. Had I only imagined Della's face? Had the streaming sunlight tricked my eyes? And with a sigh, I let her help me into the boat. I slumped to my knees. The boat rocked up and down. Liz narrowed her eyes at me. What happened out there? She asked. Before I could answer, I heard splashing outside the boat. Della? I froze. No. Jan pulled herself up onto the side. She brushed her wet hair off of her face. Sarah, didn't you hear me calling you? She demanded. Jan, I didn't see you. I thought that... My voice caught in my throat. Why did you swim away from me, Jan? Why did you swim away from me? Jan asked. I'm your buddy, remember? Liz drove me to the shore. I changed my clothes, went to see Richard. I found him in the head counselor's office, a little room about the size of a closet in the back of the main lodge. He was resting his feet on top of a tiny desk. He swirled a toothpick in his mouth. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? He flashed me a friendly smile and motioned for me to take a seat in front of the folding chair across from his desk. I could see his eyes studying me. I hear you had another little problem in the lake, he said softly. He moved his toothpick to the other side of his mouth. What's going on there? I took a deep breath. Should I tell him that there's a ghost girl who's been following me everywhere, who wants me to be her buddy? He'd just think I'm nuts, I decided. You've had a bad shock yesterday, Richard said. We really thought that you drowned. He lowered his feet and leaned over the desk toward me. Maybe you went back in the water too soon after the shock. Maybe, I muttered. And then I blurted out the question that was really on my mind. Richard, tell me about the girl who drowned here. His mouth dropped open. Huh? The toothpick fell onto his lap. I know that a girl drowned in the lake, I insisted. Can you tell me about her? Richard shook his head. Nope, no girl ever drowned in Camp Cold Lake, he said. Never. I knew he was lying. I had proof, after all. I had seen Della, and talked with her. Richard, please, I begged. I really need to know. Tell me about her. And he frowned. Why don't you believe me, Sarah? I'm telling the truth. No campers have ever drowned at this camp. No boys, no girls. I heard a soft sigh behind me. I glanced back to the doorway and saw Della standing there. I jumped to my feet and pointed. Richard, I cried. The girl who drowned, she's standing right there, don't you see? And Richard raised his eyes to the doorway. Yes, he replied. I see her.
What? Richard, you fuck! Did you murder this little girl, Richard? Strangle her, you Canadian fuck!
Oh my god.
Huh? I gasped and grabbed the edge of his desk. You could see her? I cried. You really do? Richard nodded. He had a solemn expression on his face. If it makes you feel better, Sarah, I'll say that I see her. Oh, you fucking bitch-ass cunt. But you don't really see her? I demanded. He scratched at his sandy-colored hair. No, I don't see anything.
God damn it, RL, with these fucking...
God damn it!
R.L. Stein with these fucking, these little fucking gotcha moments.
JK. I turned back to the doorway. Della grinned at me. Sit down, please, Richard instructed. You know, sometimes our minds play tricks on us, especially when we've been through a really bad scare. I didn't sit down. I stood in front of his desk and stared hard at Della. Stared right through her. She's not in my mind. She's not in my mind. She's right there, I shouted. She's standing right there, Richard. Her name is Della. She drowned at this camp and he's trying to drown me too. Sarah, calm down, please, Richard said gently. He climbed around his desk and put a hand on my shoulder, and then he led me to the door. I was standing face to face with Della. She stuck out her tongue at me. Meh. See, there's no one there, Richard said. But, I'm inside her right now.
Oh.
Why don't you stay away from the lake for a few days, he suggested. You know, just hang out and relax. Della mouthed his words as he spoke. I turned away from her. She giggled. Don't go to the lake? I asked Richard. He nodded. Take a few days and rest up. You'll feel much better. I knew I wouldn't feel better. I knew I'd still have Della follow me everywhere, trying to make me her buddy. I sighed.
That won't help, I told him. Then I have a different idea, he said.
Exorcism.
Pick a sport you haven't tried, like football. Sarah, pick up something really hard, like water skiing. I don't get it, I replied. Why should I do that? Because you have to think so hard about what you're doing, you won't have time to worry about ghosts. I rolled my eyes. Yeah, right. I'm trying to help you, he said sharply. Well, thanks, I replied, but I don't know what else to say. I guess I'll go out to lunch. I trudged out of the tiny office and took a deep breath. The air was much cooler out in the main lodge. I turned the corner and headed toward the mess hall in the front of the building. As I turned the corner, I heard Della's frail voice behind me. You can't get away, Sarah. You're my buddy. There's no need to run. You'll always be my buddy. The soft words, so close to my ear, sent shivers down my back. Something inside me snapped. I couldn't hold in my fury. Shut up! I shrieked. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! And leave me alone! I spun around to see if she had heard me, and gasped in horror.
Brianna stood behind me, her mouth dropped open in shock. Okay, I'll go away, she said, backing up. You don't have to be so nasty, Sarah. I'll just come to see how you were doing. Wow, I felt so bad. Brianna thought I was talking to her. I stammered. I thought you wanted to be friends, Brianna snapped. I didn't even say a word to you. You bit my head off. I wasn't talking to you, I finally choked out. I was talking to her. And I pointed to Della, who leaned against the wall behind us. Della waved to me and giggled. Sun from the open lodge window lit up Della's blonde hair from behind. I could see the window, right through her body. I was talking to her, I repeated. Brianna raised her eyes to the window, and the strangest expression spread over her face. The next morning I gulped down some gooey scrambled eggs for breakfast. Then I made my way to the boat dock. Don't ask why I decided to try water skiing. I really don't have an answer. I suppose I did it for Aaron. The night before, he begged me once again not to call Mom and Dad. Aaron really didn't want to go home. He said he was having the best summer of his life. Sure, I thought. Easy for you to have a good summer. You don't have a ghost following you around. Please try to stay a while longer, Aaron begged. I won't go to the lake, I decided. I'll hang around the cabin and read. Or something. But in the morning I realized that was a bad plan. I'd be too scared to stay by myself in a cabin while everyone else was at the lake. I would have no way to protect myself against Della. Yes, I know, I wasn't thinking clearly. I was so stressed out I could barely think at all. I should have stayed away from the water as far as possible. But I really didn't want to be alone, so I followed Richard's advice. And I went to the boat dock and told Liz I wanted to try water skiing. That's great, Sarah, Liz cried, flashed me a pleased smile. Have you ever done this before? It's easier than it looks. I told her I never tried it. She put a yellow inflated life vest and a pair of skis from the equipment shed. Then she gave me a short lesson, showed me how to lean back and how to bend my knees. A short while later, I was in the water waiting for the motorboat to come around. Meg was using the boat now, skiing behind it, sliding over the water. Her orange bathing suit glowed in the morning sunlight. The hum of the boat echoed over the water. The lake bobbed and rippled in the boat's wake. Meg let out a cry and let go of the tow rope as the boat sped near the dock. She splashed the water, then quickly pulled off her skis. Then she came to the shore. My turn next, I said softly. Felt a knot in my stomach. Meg flashed me a thumbs up. I struggled with the skis, but finally got them in place, and then I pulled on the tow rope, gripping it tightly in both hands. Firmly grasp it! The boat motor sputtered and coughed. The boat rocked up ahead of me in the rippling blue water. I steadied myself, lowered myself the way Liz had showed me, and took a deep breath. Ready, I called. The motor sputtered, and then roared. The boat pulled away so fast the tow rope nearly flew out of my hands. Whoa! I opened my mouth in a long cry as the rope pulled me up. Yes, the skis bounced over the water. I bent my knees and gripped the tow rope tightly. I'm doing it, I realized. I am a water skiing! The boat picked up speed. We headed into a straight line over the sparkling water. The cold spray swept over my face, my hair. I started to lose my balance, tugged myself back up, held on, and kept going. Yes! I cried out loud. What an awesome feeling! But then the driver of the boat turned her head. and I recognized that it was Della's evil grin. As she worked the controls, Della's white blonde hair flew up like wings around her pale face. Her blue eyes sparkled like the water. Her grin grew wider as she saw the horror on my face. "Turn around! Turn back, please!" I begged. She made the boat swerve hard. I nearly toppled over. I gripped the tow rope. My skis slapped the surface. Pain shot up to my knees. The cold spray washed over me. I grasped, struggled to breathe. Della threw back her head and laughed. The sound was drowned out by a roar of the motor. I could see the sky through her body. The sunlight poured right through her. "Turn around!" I screamed. "Stop! Where are you taking me? Where?" So melodramatic.
We're going to Vegas, bitch!
Oh, fuck.
Della didn't answer. She turned away from me, her hair flying wildly behind her head. The boat bounced over the water, sending up tall waves of foam and spray. The waves splashed over me, chilling me, blinding me. Gripped in panic, it took me a long time to realize that I had an easy escape. I let go of the tow rope. My hands shot up. The tow bar snapped against the water. I skidded for a few seconds, my arms thrashing wildly. And then I toppled over and sank. The life vest pulled me up. I bounced on the water, gasping, spitting out water, my heart pounding. I felt so dizzy. The bright sunlight seemed to surround me. Which way was up? Which way to the shore? I spun around and saw the motorboat in the distance. "You didn't get me this time," I called to Della. But then I froze as the boat began to turn. Della swerved the boat, kicking up a tall wave of white water, swerved it back around until it pointed at me. I gasped as I heard the motor roar. I bobbed helplessly in the water. The boat picked up speed, skipping over the rippling surface. "She's coming for me," I thought. "She's coming to make me her buddy forever. I'm trapped here, and she's coming to row me over."
I love this. "She's coming to make me her buddy forever." Such a funny way to say I'm about to get fucking got.
killed. Chopped up by a motor.
I treaded water, watching in horror as the boat sped toward me. I've got to dive under it, I realized. The only way to escape it is through the motor itself. I took a deep breath, every muscle tensed. I knew I had my time to dive perfectly and not possibly swim out of the way. The boat roared closer, and I could see Della crouched over the motor, guiding the boat, aiming it. I took another deep breath, and then I realized I can't dive. This is the life vest that was holding me up, this buoyancy. No way I could plunge beneath the surface. With a cry, I grabbed the front of the vest with both hands and I tugged. I can't do this, I realized. I can't get this thing off of me. The water rocked harder as the boat sped nearer and the whole lake seemed to tilt and spin. The boat, it's gonna tear me to pieces, I thought. I pulled at the vest, pushed it. Please, please slide over my head. No time. No time. I can't dive. The motor's roar drowned out my scream, and with a frantic tug I pulled the life vest up over my shoulders. Too late. The front of the boat bounced over me, then the whirring motor blades sliced off my head.
Lies! I waited for the pain. I waited for the darkness. The water swirled around me, blue, then green. Choking on a mouthful of water, I thrashed up to the surface, struggling to breathe. I let the waves rock me back and forth. "The life vest!" I choked out. I held half of the vest in each hand. The motor blades had sliced the vest in two. Fucking knew it. I tossed the two pieces away and started to laugh. "I'm alive! I'm alive!" I cried out. "I'm alive!" I turned and saw the boat speeding across the lake. Did Della think she had won? I didn't care. I spun around, found the shore, and started to swim. My close call gave me new energy. The strong, rocking current helped push me back to the camp. I heard girls calling to me as I stumbled onto the grass, and I saw Liz jogging over quickly. "Sarah! Sarah!" she called out. "Sarah, wait! No! Come back, Sarah!" I ignored her. I ignored them all. I started to run. I knew what I had to do. I had to get away from Camp Cold Lake. I had to get away as fast as I could. I wasn't safe here. Not as long as Della wanted me for her buddy. Not as long as Della wanted me to drown too. I knew no one would believe me. They all said they wanted to help me, but no one could really help me. Not against a ghost. I burst into the cabin and tore off my wetsuit, tossing it to the floor. I frantically pulled on shorts and a t-shirt. I swept my hair back and with both my hands, tugged on my socks and my sneakers. Got to get away.
got to get away, I chanted to myself. What to do? Where do I go? What do I do? What do I do? Ooh, I'll run through the woods to the town on the other side, I decided. I'll call Mom and Dad. I'll tell them I'm hiding in town. I'll tell them to pick me up there.
You know what's worse than a ghost in a lake? A bear in the woods. You twit.
I stopped at the cabin doorway. Should I tell Aaron? No way, I decided. He'll only try to stop me. I'll get a message to Aaron from town, I decided. I'll tell him where I am. I'll send a messenger pigeon. I'll do smoke signals. But not until I'm safe. Not until I'm far away from this place. I poked my head out of the cabin and searched around, making sure the coast was clear. Then I stepped outside and made my way around to the back and ran into Brianna. She narrowed her eyes at me, studying my face. You're going? She asked quietly. I nodded. Yes, I'm going. Once again, Brianna's expression changed. The light in her eyes seemed to fade. Good luck, she whispered.
Is everyone stuck here?
Are they everyone
all
dead?
Ghosts?
Is everyone
Is this ghost camp? That's such an R.L. Stein twist.
Ghost camp?
Everyone's ghost camp. Oh, penultimate chapter. Here we go. Why is she acting so weird, I wondered. I didn't have time to think about it. I gave Brianna a wave, then I ran past her and headed into the woods. I glanced back as I followed a path between the trees and saw Brianna still standing there, behind the cabin, watching me. Taking a deep breath, I turned and hurried along the path. The trees overhead cut off a lot of the sunlight. It grew darker and cooler as I ran. A hedge of sharp burrs and brambles scraped my bare arms and legs as I tried to edge past. I wished I had worn jeans and a sweatshirt, something that covered me better. My sneakers slipped over a thick blanket of dead leaves. I had to skip over fallen tree limbs and clumps of thorny weeds. Tree roots rose up over the path. Tall, dry reeds leaned over me as if reaching to grab me. The narrow path divided into two. I paused, breathing hard, trying to decide which path to take. Would they both lead me to town? I held my breath when I heard a voice. Singing. A bird. No, a soft voice. A girl's voice. Oh no, I moaned. Raising my eyes to the sound, I saw Della perched on a low tree limb. She tilted her head from side to side as she sang. Her blue eyes sparkled, gazing down at me. You followed me, I stammered. How did you know that I... My voice caught in my throat and she giggled. You're my buddy, she replied. We have to stick together. No way, I screamed up at her. You lose, Della. I'm not going to be your buddy, because I'm never going to the lake again. I'm never going to drown like you. Della's smile faded. Drown? She shook her head. Sarah, what made you think that? You're very confused. I didn't drown. Huh? My mouth dropped open. I stared up at her in shock. Close your mouth, Sarah.
Bears.
A fly will fly into it. Della tilted her head back and laughed. Then she shook her head again. How could anyone drown at Camp Cold Lake, she demanded. They give a lecture about water safety every 5 minutes. No one ever drowned at Camp Cold Lake. You didn't drown? I cried. Then how did you die? She rested her hands on the tree limb and leaned forward, peering down at me. I could see through her body, see the leaves shaking in the breeze. It's a simple story, Della said with a sigh. One night I got tired of listening to the water safety lectures at the campfire, so I snuck off into the woods.
Bear?
She swept her hair back with a toss of her head. I made one major mistake, she continued. I didn't know the woods are filled with deadly poisonous snakes.
Damn it. No bear.
I gasped. The woods? Snakes? Della nodded. It's nearly impossible to cross through these woods without getting bitten, she sighed. I died from a snake bite, Sarah. But, I sputtered. But you were always at the lake, I choked out. Why did I always see you at the lake? Don't you get it? She replied. That was my plan. I made you afraid of the lake, Sarah. I made you terrified of the lake. Because I knew you'd try to escape through the woods. I knew you'd run into the woods and die. Like me. Be my buddy.
Hmm.
No, I protested. I won't. I Sarah, look. Della pointed toward the ground, and I gazed as a fat black snake curled around my leg.
Goddamn.
Hey! Buddies forever!
Buddies forever. Della sang
Buddies
cheerfully.
forever! Buddies forever! Buddies forever!
I stood frozen, gaping down in horror, watching the fat snake wind itself around me, feeling its warm, dry body scrape over my bare skin. No! A low moan escaped my throat as the snake arched its head. It won't hurt that much, Bella said brightly. It's like a bee sting, Sarah. That's all. The snake let out a hiss and snapped open its jaws. Its body gived. I felt its body tighten like a warm rope around my leg. Buddies forever, Della sang. Buddies forever. No, Sarah's not your buddy, a voice rang out. I turned toward the voice, but I couldn't move. I felt the snake tighten around my leg. Brianna, I called. What are you doing here? She hurried out from behind the clump of tall reeds. With one quick motion, she grabbed the snake in one hand, slid it off my leg, and tossed it into the trees. Brianna raised her eyes to Della. Sarah can't be your buddy, because she's my buddy, Brianna shouted. Della's eyes grew wide. She cried out in surprise. She gripped the tree branch and to keep from falling. You! She exclaimed. What are you doing here? Yes, it's me! Brianna shouted up to her. I'm back, Della! But how did you... Della's voice trailed off. You tried to do the same thing to me last year, Brianna said. You tried all summer to make me your buddy! You terrified me, didn't you, Della? Brianna uttered an angry cry. You didn't think I'd come back, bitch! But I did! I came back to the camp this summer to protect the next girl. No! Della wailed. I finally understood. I stepped up to the tree beside Brianna. Brianna is my buddy, I declared, and I'm not coming... and I'm coming back next summer to warn the next girl. No! 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 Della raged. You can't do that! I waited so long! So long! She let go of the tree branch and shook her fist at Brianna and me, lost her balance. Her hands flew up as she started to fall. She grabbed for the limb, missed, and dropped silently to the ground. Then she was gone, vanished. With a weary sigh, I climbed to my feet and shook my head. Is she gone for good? I murmured. Brianna shrugged. I don't know. I hope so. I turned to Brianna. You saved my life, I cried. Thank you for following me. Thank you for saving me. With a happy cry, I stepped up to her. Thank you. Thank you. I wrapped my arms around her to hug her, and my arms went right through her. Knew it. I gasped. I grabbed her shoulder, but I couldn't feel a thing. I jumped back in shock. Brianna narrowed her eyes. Della killed me last summer, Sarah, she said softly. On the last day, but I didn't want to be her buddy. I just never liked her. She floated forward, raised herself off the ground, hovered over me. But I need a buddy, she whispered. Everyone has to have a buddy. You'll be my buddy, won't you, Sarah? I saw the hissing snake in her hand, but I couldn't move. You'll be my buddy, won't you? Brianna repeated. You'll be my buddy forever.
Holy shit!
That was a nice little twist at the end.
It didn't have an ending. It also doesn't make sense. Because other kids were talking to Brianna literally the whole fucking time.
Yeah, and like she
was there at the camp next to the fire.
They were like,
put the snake
her
down
and
her
Meg
shirt.
were giggling to each other. Like,
if Brianna's dead, Meg's dead.
Yeah. And
if Brianna's dead, Meg's dead, Jan's dead.
You think the whole cabin is
but
just...
the fact that the story
But no, because Jan...
The story just ends.
Jan
We're
goes
jumping... The story just ends. We're jumping to conclusions. God damn you, R.L. Stein.
Because, like, also, like, she wanted to kill her to make her buddy, and it seemed like the reason that she made her buddy when she killed her, it seemed like...
How prejudiced do you have to be to, like, not be friends with the only other ghost?
I would do that. If the bitch killed me, I'd be like, no, you don't get
you
don't get to be my ghost buddy. Fuck off. I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna prevent you from getting any more ghosts.
You're overlooking, no matter how angry you are in that moment, you're overlooking the fact that, like, if you don't do the moral good in that situation, you probably are damned to spend the eternity there with her.
Yeah.
So you might as well just be her buddy and see if that gives you the what is it?
What is it?
Yeah, what do they call it? Unfinished business.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfinished business. Once you get the unfinished business done, maybe it like, I don't know, ghosts. So for the most part, I really liked Della. I really liked the kind of
I like when she was on
creepy
the boat
camp
with her head
story.
throwing back laughing. That was fun.
Yeah. I'm honestly thought that clip was gonna cut and it was just gonna be Liz trying to come and pick her up on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it like ghost boat.
Ghost boat.
And then there was a point where I liked it a lot more, where I don't know why I'm saying this. I shouldn't say this. When it was more subtle. R.L. Stein's Goosebumps are not subtle. If there's one thing they're not, it's downplayed. Everything's always 11. It's not just a fruit, it's a tomato. That's just how he is.
I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking story.
I'm tired of this goddamn ghost calling me a goddamn buddy. You're not my buddy, guy. Okay, so that's not. I mean, that still might be Sarah. Because of the.
But I guess it would be
like boat in the distance.
Like Della.
Oh. But this could technically be Della. They never described her as a skeleton though. It's just a fun little illustration, is all it is. Because they just said she was just a ghost kid with blue eyes.
Last one in is a rotten ghost. Last one that died was Brianna. She's a rotten ghost.
Last one is a rotten ghost.
The last one to die there, that Della killed, was Brianna, and then and Della's bad, but Brianna's worse because Della was like straight up like, I'm making you my buddy. I want to kill you. Brianna was like, I save you. JK Snake.
Brianna was like, nah, I've been here for like a fucking year, and the only way I was gonna win this was by trolling the shit out of you.
Right. Like, she was a bitch in the beginning.
I'm frustrated.
Yeah, because I kind of liked it until the ending part, which is like,
I mean...
if Brianna was just a person and was like, I could see that thing, too, because she tried to kill me last year, and that was it, and she's a person, cool. I didn't need the actual, now I'm going to kill you, too. Eh.
I thought she hurled the snake into the woods. Where'd she get another one from?
Right?
The ending doesn't make sense.
Like, there's... And why would you tell the bitch? Why would you tell Sarah? Like, why would Della tell Sarah? Why would you say, like, oh, I got you here for snakes? It's like, why would you just let it happen? Just let it happen. It happened to be a big, fat, juicy snake right in her leg.
Yeah, big old twist kind of presented itself right then and there. Why you fucking monologuing?
So yeah, like
yeah. If you had just shut the fuck up and let it happen, you might have actually like let it happen. Like the talking and the diatribe led to Brianna showing up, so it's just like I don't know, like it's just interesting how literally like up to the last chapter it was fine.
Yeah, and then it just
and then the last chapter is just like what a twist.
Yeah, I literally thought, I'm like, they just Shyamalan us.
It's not a Shyamalan twist, because at least with a Shyamalan twist, you're left saying, like, oh. And then for this one, I was just like, what?
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 Why?
What?
Yeah,
I liked Della.
Think...
Della was cool. Della was creepy. Della, like, it could be, like, a fun little thing, you know, to imagine. I used to go to a summer camp. I talk about it on other episodes. I don't want to get into it because it's already pretty late.
I went to one year for summer. I hated every second of it.
I took a bunch of baby ducks with me one year.
Did
you?
No,
I loved the camp I went to. I went there 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
First time was when I was 12, and then I went back when I was, like, 14 or 15, and, like hormones in swing, dude. And they age bracketed the groups, so when you were there when you were like 15 or 16, it's all the other 15 or 16-year-old girls. Let me just tell you. Nothing, there's nothing hornier on the planet than like a church girl. That just like...
Didn't you date a Mormon?
Oh, I dated a Mormon for several years. So yes, I'm not joking when I say this. But like, I met like 3 or 4 girls there on my like last time round to this camp, and about 4 or so years later, ended up sleeping with one of them. So, you know, goes to show, put in the time, you do the crime. You know what I'm
Couple
saying?
years later, I got laid once.
Genuinely one of the hottest girls I've ever met. She's been on TV. She's been on several episodes of Law and Order. Shout out, you're a babe.
Shout out, got it in.
Shout out, I'm doing a podcast from my basement.
It's a cool basement.
It's a fun podcast.
It's fun to be with you. I enjoy doing the podcast.
No. I'm just, you know, it's just funny to, you know, Law and Order.
Dun,
Anyway.
dun, dun, dun.
Anyway, so there's some unresolved feelings when it comes to these camps, right? Because you said you had an awful time. I said I had a great time. There were Bible undertones at mine. I've talked about it in other episodes. It's where I met Ramses Vanderslice. Shout out to Ramses. He's a good guy. We really just played games. We played games the entire time. I remember, like, because there was like a full acre of land. Imagine like field, lake, woods, field. Woods had hiking trails and pits and water spots and wells and shit. We used to play capture the flag, where one flag was on the left field, one flag was on the right field, and you had to cut through the woods from either side to get to the other flag.
Yeah.
That shit was tight. It was always super challenging because, like, as a spry young lad, like running down the one trail and like seeing like 3 or 4 dudes from the other team like coming up the trail towards you, fucking jump into the bushes real quick, try to hide, because this is like old school capture the flag, where like if you're tagged, like you're going to like their jail.
Yeah.
And you have to be like quote unquote broken out, you know? Yeah, we used to sneak out at night and go fuck around with the girls, and it was just always really funny to be like, I've never even like kissed a girl, you know? and then you like make out. Oh yeah, good old times of being young and dumb and hung, you know what I'm saying? What was your camp like?
I just remember being miserable because I was an introvert as a kid, and I still kind of am. So like it was like my parents like, go be social for a while, and like me and my brother got like separated, I believe, so I couldn't hang out with him,
Age
even though that was
brackets,
like also
yeah.
back in the time where we hate each other's guts. So I just remember like, I don't remember
That's
much
wild.
of it.
You and your brother didn't get along for a time?
No, we didn't become best friends until like high school.
Interesting.
We fought and hated each other's guts for a long time.
Well, me and my brother still fight. We fight all the time, but we've always fought, so I just get over it.
Oh, we were like physical all the time, and now we're
Yeah, my brother
now we're the
swung
same
at me
exact.
a couple times.
Now we're the same exact person, and it's frightening sometimes.
It's fun. It's fun. He's just a quiet, tall version of you.
Much more handsome and well off than
Oh,
I am.
fucking stop it!
So handsome of a man.
Listen, he shaves.
I mean, I don't shave just because my fiance likes the hair.
No, you look good with hair. You look good with a beard. I'm sure he'd look good with a beard.
He's had a beard a few times, yeah.
Yeah. But still, so you got separated from your brother. You didn't want to be outside. You basically went through the same experience as this chick. It's just like, I don't want to do anything.
But I didn't make everyone.
I was
hate
allowed
me.
to bring my Game Boy.
See, I wasn't. My parents were like, "Go be social.
And
don't
I was the
bring
kid
anything."
who snuck tons of candy.
But this is the kind of camp where you went in the morning, you came back at night.
No, mine was sleep away.
It was
Mine
basically like babysitting.
Yeah, a day camp.
It was because I didn't want to sleep anywhere. Because when I was younger, I had that thing where like I would like freak out in the middle of the night and be like, I'm not comfortable. I gotta be in my home and know where I'm at. Oh, the times of calling my parents late at night. Can you come get me?
I had to stay with all my grandparents at way young ages. I got over that real quick. I got used to
the fun thing is
sleeping
my
fucking
grandparents.
anywhere.
I had grandparents farther away, and I had grandparents right next door. So like,
You didn't want to sleep there. You walk across the street.
Hell yeah, I was there.
Yeah, it's fine. Mine was a sleepaway camp. We were there for anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. Sometimes it's like the majority of the summer. You could pick a half course or you could pick a full course. And I think I only ever did halves because my parents would only want me to go away when they were going on their trips. So they would schedule their trips to last as long as we were going away. And I remember my brother would get phased into the older crowd too. So if I went during this, my brother often went to different camps. Like he did like basketball camp and shit. And my sister did like fucking, I don't know. My sister might have went and stayed with my grandmother. She was probably too young to do camp. But I remember I went to this camp like alone most of the time, which is why I brought a bunch of baby ducks with me. The middle time when I was like 13, I think. Because I went back again a couple years later, and people were asking about him. They were like, you didn't bring your friend again." I was like, "Yeah, he doesn't like the whole Bible part."
Can't blame him.
No, I couldn't blame him either. Because whenever we had reflection period, they would tell you to read some verses and like sit outside, for I don't know 20, 30 minutes. I would literally just sleep in the grass. Okay. Like, go find somewhere. Go sit out in the courts. Go sit out, in the grass somewhere in the sun. And, from 10 to 11, you were supposed to, like, read. And just fucking sleep. Or just find somewhere really comfortable. I would literally walk to the middle of campus in between, like, the mess hall and the basketball courts. This big patch of grass, like, right in the middle of the sun. I'd just fucking fall asleep. In front of everyone. Kid's supposed to be reading the Bible and he's just sleeping instead. It's because we were fucking around all night. It was the type of thing where it's like we were playing pranks on each other. We were playing flashlight tag. We were building forts out of our mattresses and shit. Jumping off of stuff. I remember I got up onto the roof at one point. So everyone was like jumping. Like we piled up all the mattresses. We were jumping off the roof trying to land on the mattresses. That didn't last very long. Our counselors fucking hated us. I remember this was the trip where at one point, and Ramsey's brought it up on the episode that I recorded with him. At one point, we just thought it would be fun when it was raining outside to put all the mattresses alongside the wall of the cabin, and we would all slide in the mud at full fucking force into all of the mattresses on the side of the cabin. And it was dirty and disgusting, and we got mud all over our mattresses and then had to sleep in our sleeping bags on top of our muddy mattresses later that night. It's fine. But I slipped at one point, knocked the wind out of myself. I've never done that before, so I got really fucking freaked out. And that was enough of the shenanigans for the rest of that trip.
No more shenanigans.
That was also a fun trip because this was the first time because the first time I went, I was too shy. I was way more introverted. I was playing games on my Game Boy whenever I had the chance. I had that I still have it here, the thing you put on the top and then it has lights so you can read the original Game Boy Color. So that was when I was maybe 10.
Okay.
I was scared. I didn't want to go, and my parents were like, "You'll be fine," and I was. I knew a lot of the kids from our high school and our middle school, so I knew a lot of the kids already. And when I went a couple years later, I just brought a ton of shit with me. I think I brought like a card game. I brought my Game Boy. I bought fucking snacks and candy. People knew me as like the kid who brought like tons of extra shit. They were like, "Yo, you got Oreos? Fucking nice." And, every day you'd pick activities exactly like it said, but you would have an afternoon activity and like a late afternoon activity. And in the middle, you would get your 3 meals, your rec time, your reflection time, and then the night would usually have like campfire time. And there would always be at least one huge bonfire or several smaller campfires. And I remember on the nights where we weren't like fraternizing with the girls because they would only let campfire sessions be like monitored.
No holding hands.
They didn't like that at all. No.
Don't look each other in the eyes.
I got handsy.
Hide those ankles.
I got handsy a bunch during those trips. But anyway, this was one of those ideal moments where we all literally sat around a campfire and told scary stories.
Nice.
And I remember, I think Ramsey's actually told like a really creepy one that ended up being like kind of true. About the it might have been Ramsey's or it might have been the other kid, but it was telling the story about the Pennsylvania melon heads.
Oh, yep, I know about the melon heads.
Yeah, people like to talk about the melon heads around a campfire. Never actually looked into the melon heads, was too scared of the scary campfire story to look into the truth behind the melon heads. Yeah, no, some kid told some story about, what did they tell? This actually might have been Ramsey's. I'm going to bring it up next time on his next episode. I'm going to have him on pretty soon. Pumpkin baby. There's something called a pumpkin baby. It was like a living pumpkin. And this kid like told this like really like suspiciously good story about some living pumpkin thing that like creeps around camps and tries to fit in with the kids. It was fun. It was neat. I remember being pretty creeped out by it. It's like some teenage fucking goat man.
Oh. My life as a teenage goat man?
Some teenage goat man vibes is what I'm trying to say. Pumpkin baby was like goat man for adolescents.
Goat man light?
Yeah, it's goat man light. It's diet goat man. It's goat man zero sugar.
Chic man.
Because goat man is terrifying for adults because it's a mimic. It's a changeling. Imagine a changeling just being like a benevolent thing trying to hang out with kids. I came in from the woods. I see that you guys are making s'mores. Can I have one?
Do you have any
Says the unusually orange kid.
Do you have any Oreos?
I heard you're the kid to ask about
What's
Oreos.
an Oreo?
Yeah, you got a weird skin condition though.
It's medical.
Don't talk about it.
My mom says it's a big side march.
You're a jerk.
Can I have some of your Oreos?
No.
You're a jerk.
Oh, I only got one more thing to say.
Monkey mode!